achievements, and then we'll take a picture, and I will pause so that way parents can come up and get a picture very quickly as well if you'd like to, and they will walk straight back out, and at that time the students and you are dismissed. So thank you so much again, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes.
And I'm going to ask Mrs. Wilson to come and lead the opening of our meeting.
Good evening. Everybody please stand and bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with grateful hearts, thanking you for the opportunity to gather and serve the students, teachers, and families of our Navarro community. We ask for your wisdom and guidance as we make decisions that affect the future of our schools and the lives of those we serve. Grant us clarity of thought, unity of purpose, and compassion for all those involved. Help us to listen carefully to one another, to consider all perspectives, and to act with integrity. We offer this prayer with hearts full of hope for the future of our schools, our children, and our community. May our work today be blessed by your guidance, and may it lead to outcomes that honor you and the potential of every child. In your name we pray. Amen. All right, and now for our pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order now. In attendance is Becky Stevenson, Donna Gilliam, Melissa Sartain, Lacey Gosh, Ann Reinhardt, and Joel Frederick, and absentee is Clint Shive. This announcement that this meeting has been duly called and that the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Section 551.043 of the Texas Government Code. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Orman to come to the microphone and we'll do our recognitions.
Okay, we are going to get started this evening with women's basketball. The running Lady Panthers poured their hearts out and left their mark on Navarro in our region with one of the most storied runs in the program's history, in which they advanced to the regional finals round. Great memories were made throughout the season, and playoffs included a special senior night to honor the players, their supportive families, and celebrate Coach Harbor's incredible 27-year career. Their trip to the regional finals will not be soon forgotten. We proudly honor these athletes for their exceptional performance both on and off the court, recognizing their achievements with academic honors. We have Sarah Baylor, Honorable Mention All-District, Tegan Harborth, First Team All-District, Texas Girls Coaches Association All-State Team, TGCA Academic All-State, and the San Antonio Express News All-Area Team. Jill Baker, Honorable Mention All-District, Calista Scott, TGCA Academic All-State, Allison Antista, Honorable Mention All-District, Joselle Burgos, Madison Gillum, Second Team All-District, TGCA Academic All-State, Camden Shields, Isabel Geipel, Second Team All-District, TGCA Academic All-State, Evelyn Scott, TGCA Academic All-State, Trinity Loftus, Journey Martin, Adrina Pacheco, and Presley Larson. Congratulations on an incredible season. We're very proud of you. I know. 1, 2, 3. Parents, if anyone wants a photo. You can get closer if you want. All right.
Great job.
Thank you. And then next we have men's basketball. Come on in, gentlemen. The men's varsity basketball season came to a close in the in-play round in a tough 1-point loss to Fredericksburg in the final seconds. This program made huge strides all year and has laid a foundation for success in the future. Additionally, we were thrilled at the announcement of head coach Jarrett Tyler being awarded the 4A District 26 Coach of the Year by the Texas High School Coaches Association in his first season at Navarro High School. The boys' performance on the court, in the classroom, and Coach Tyler's prestigious recognition is a testament of their unwavering commitment to the program, and we look forward to seeing those returning next year. Tonight, we recognize the following achievements: Patrick Moggy, first team and academic all-district; Elijah Farley, second team all-district; Weston Shields, second team and all-academic; Cohen Blunt, honorable mention and all-academic; Bailey Burgess, all-academic; Deegan Bush, all-academic; Sean Estrada, all-academic; Hudson Jenner, all-academic; Colorado Kenway, all-academic; and Eli Melton, all-academic. Congratulations, boys. Okay, I'm gonna need to see faces in between the tallness here.
Boys can step down a step.
Okay.
And they step down a step?
There we go. 1, 2, 3. I got it. I said that. He was making sure I mentioned you, Coach Tyler, for Coach of the Year. And next we have our VASE students. Navarro ISD celebrates the remarkable success of its student artists at the Regional Visual Arts Scholastic event, VASE, held at Canyon Lake High School on February the 9th. 9 talented Navarro High School students showcased their skills, with 8 earning the highest rating of 4 and advanced to the area round, bringing home a total of 11 medals. Notably, 2 students qualified for the state-based competition scheduled for April 26th at San Marcos High School. The artists include Bailey Horner, rating 4 in Division 3, Sloan Wackester, rating 4 in Division 1, Margaret M. Kotzer, state qualifier, Kaylee Thomas, state qualifier, Ellis Sebesta, rating 4 in Division 2, Haley Wyatt, rating 4 in Division 2, Layla Clark, rating 4 in Division 4, Madison Tucker, rating 4 in Division 4, and Caitlin Ibarra. These accomplishments underscore the strength and growing competitiveness of Navarro ISD's fine arts programs and the district's commitment to fostering student creativity. Congratulations and best of luck at the state level. Thank you. Oh wait, hold on. Let me get out of the way. Go ahead.
Yep, you can't rock on.
Next we have our intermediate academic UIL. There's quite a few of them. Our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at Navarro Intermediate traveled to Fredericksburg on February 8th to compete at the District UIL Academic Meet. Overall, the school took home an impressive 2nd place finish, and many students earned top places in their events. The following students placed third and above in the following categories. Sienna Chandler, second place ready writing. Julianne Coppage, third place ready writing. Luke Kessler, third place ready writing, first dictionary skills, first place listening skills. Brielle Meter, first place spelling, third place listening, second place dictionary skills. Marcelo Chapa, third place music memory, first place number sense. Lindley Flippin, second place oral reading. Emerson Trejo, first place social studies. Emery Langford, first place chess puzzle. Liam Sanford, third place chess puzzle. Ayan Shabir, third place chess puzzle. Lila Lopez, third place oral reading. Barrett Holmes, third place number sense. Sita Knudsen, first place art smart. Lawrence Lane, first place storytelling. And Owen Miranda, first place maps, charts, and graphs. Congratulations to these students who expressed their mastery of skill and demonstration of applying their knowledge in a competitive environment. Okay, great job. We'll give it a second to clear out. All right, next up we have our junior high academic UIL. Come on in. So we have a great turnout tonight, but there's even more. Tonight was the junior high district track meet, so we're missing quite a few. But over 60 junior high students showcased their academic skills at the district UIL meet held on February 8th in Bandera, and the results were outstanding, with Navarro Junior High securing a commendable third place overall finish in the district. The following students placed third and above in the following categories. Amelia Sellis, Art Miscellaneous third place. Antoinette Pazlucchio, Art Miscellaneous first place. Archer Galini, Listening Skills third place. Social Studies second place. Aria Reynolds, Art Smart first place. Bella Dominguez, Art Drawing second place. Caroline Norton, Art 3D first place. Carter Aaliyah, Mathematics third place. Corrine Forrester, Oral Reading second place and Spelling first place. Dax Scarmozy, Chess Puzzle third place. Finley Galini, Listening Skills third place and Oral Reading first place. Juliana Garcia, Art Miscellaneous second place. Hadley Hunter, Music Memory third place. Jackson Wallace, Editorial Writing second place, as well as Maps, Charts, and Graphs second place. Josiah Perry, Art Drawing first place. Jules Foreman, Art Painting first place. Caden Perrine, Science second place. Kaylee Kerr, Art 3D second place. Kira Kay, Mathematics second place, as well as Maps, Charts, and Graphs second place, and Ready Writing third place. Claire Wallace, Art Painting second place, as well as Art 3D first place. Kyla Debaca, Ready Writing third place. Levia Bonda, Art Drawing first place. Lindsay Scott, Spelling first place. Maddox Bro, Art Painting first place. Michaela Peterson, Art Smart second place. Millie Hart, Oral Reading second place. Noah Scarborough, Mathematics third place, as well as Number Sense second place. Presley Castillo, Art Painting third place. Shelby Eller, Impromptu Speaking first place, as well as Modern Oratory third place. Vinny Estorita, Science first place. Vivian Anderson, Art Drawing second place. Art Painting first place. Art Miscellaneous second place. Art Smart first place. Modern Oratory first place. We are extremely proud of our junior high students as well as our coaches and teachers who support our students in these events. Congratulations. All right, hold your certificates up. Here we go. Not in front of your face, right here. Perfect. All right, everyone keep smiling. Okay, don't move. You're fine. Keep smiling.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Cyber Patriot. This year, 2 teams participated in the Cyber Patriot competition, a national cyber defense program showcasing their cybersecurity skills in both state and national semifinal rounds. The competition challenges students to secure virtual operating systems and networks using platforms like Windows Server, Ubuntu, and Cisco Packet Tracer. Notably, Team Hawk, Team 3853, advanced to the semifinal round in the silver category, a first for our district, demonstrating significant progress and technical proficiency. Coached by Mr. Bellevue, participation in Cyber Patriot provides invaluable hands-on experience in critical thinking, problem solving, and teamwork. And the students tackled very complex cybersecurity challenges, gained practical skills that will benefit them in future STEM pursuits. The results are the 2 teams that competed at the state level and 1 team competed in the national semifinals on January the 24th. Our state finalists are Vincent He, James Manny Gibbons, Colton Jones, Enoch Agbedi, I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, Julian Barras Conchas, and our national semifinalists are Daniel Reed Glenn, Adolfo Ramos Velez, Joel Morales Collin, Angie Otero, Aiden Miranda, and Kristen Reyna. The district celebrates their achievements and commitment to learning in this challenging and very relevant field. Congratulations.
Yeah, stay there. We
Oh,
gotta-
got one. Can I move after I do this one last one? Okay, I'll meet you in the hallway. Okay, thank you. Okay, next up we have our Dazzlers and our Stargazers. On March 1st, our varsity and JV Dazzlers, along with our junior high Stargazer teams, competed at the Dance Line USA Hill Country Regional Competition in Fredericksburg, and they received the following outstanding awards. Our varsity earned Team Sweepstakes, Best in Category Small Team Modern, Officer Sweepstakes, Best in Category Small Officer Contemporary, Officer Contemporary Champions, and 3rd place Ring of Champion Officers. Our JV team won an outstanding Double Division I Team Routines and Division I Officers. Those team leaders are are Harley Bodie, Taylor Brannon, Brooke Brown, who also earned a Division I solo, Abigail Burt, Taylin Cairo with a third place duet and Division I solo, Kaylee Henley, third place duet, Aleda Perez, Maya Robertson, second place solo and top 5 pirouettes, Haley Wright, Kamaya Baker, Isabel Sapien Aguirre with a Division I duet, Kaylee Marie Traeger with a Division I duet, and Jocelyn Villanueva with a Division I solo. Our Stargazers team include Brianna Holmes with a Division I first place officer lyrical, Emery Liu, Division I first place elite team lyrical, Peyton Ryerson, Division I first place team prop, Camille Scott, Katie Thomas, Alexis McInnes, Jocelyn Jones, Miranda Fisperman, Jocelyn Flores, Madison Eldridge, Timberland T, Maya Howard, Lacey Tipton, and Leslie Hernandez. We are extremely proud of these dancers for all of their hard work that you've put in this season. And they truly pushed themselves to greater limits and put their complete soul into every movement performed. Congratulations to our dancers, as well as Mrs. Conaway and Mrs. Laura on an amazing season. Do you want to get on either side? One, two, three. All right, thank you. Okay, and next we have our high school theater. The high school one at play. The high school one at play company delivered a powerful performance of Anatomy of Grey by Jim Leonard at a clinic hosted by Wimberley ISD in February. And on March 3rd, the company competed at their district competition held at Canyon Lake High School. We would like to recognize and congratulate the following performers who earned the following awards. Zoe Clyde Alexis, honorable mention All-Star Cast at UIL 1 at Play Wimberley Clinic. Gael Cortez, All-Star Cast at UIL 1 at Play Wimberley. Justin Perez, Best Performer at UIL 1 at Play Wimberley Clinic. Aylin Aguirre, All-Star Technician at UIL 1 at Play District. Joshua Brooks, honorable mention All-Star Cast at UIL 1 at Play District. Lucy Seibert, All-Star Cast at UIL 1 at Play District. Additionally, Navarro ISD is also proud to recognize Sarah Mullen and Omar Villasana, who have been recognized as Texas Theater Scholars for the 24-25 school year. This prestigious distinction, awarded by Texas Thespians, honors theater students who demonstrate exceptional academic achievement and active participation in theatrical programs. To earn this award, students must maintain a minimum 3.0 GPA, be members in good standing within the theater department, and exhibit exemplary character. Sarah and Omar have not only excelled academically, but have also showcased their dedication to theater, embodying the spirit of excellence both on and off the stage. Congratulations to all of our actors, as well as Mrs. Petnecki and Mrs. Hewitt. Oh, one picture. Oh.
Thank you. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, that was your
6:24, and I just want the record to reflect that trustee Clint Scheib has joined the board meeting. At this time, is there any public participation?
No,
Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get my computer back up. At this time, it looks like we are going to move into item number 6. It's me, it's not you. The high school construction and bond 2021 and 2024 update with AGCM representative Vincent Quintero and Ryan Zwicky.
Got a stand today. Good evening, President Sartain, members of the board, and Superintendent Ms. Sepley. My name is Vincent Quintero, Assistant Project Manager with AGCM overseeing the high school project. And they are trusting me to give y'all the high school update again. So I guess I didn't do too bad last week or last month. The weather was better this month, had a couple of windy days, but nothing too bad. The roof has been completed and coping has begun. In the interior, we are continuing with above ceiling inspections. In the first slide is the exterior of the health science classrooms. To the top right is the library on the second floor. This is the east side of the building facing Highway 123. Scaffolding is up and EFIS work is taking place. Actually now in the center part and the left side as well, the EFIS is complete there and scaffolding has been removed. On the classroom side of the building, the north side, we have completed the EFIS on the exterior. Moving down past the cafeteria to the south end of the building, this is the exterior of the kitchen, also the service yard. Insulation has been placed and the brick will soon follow. Inside of the classroom wing, as mentioned last month, we have passed the above ceiling inspection and we are dried in and have controlled air. So we have closed up majority of the ceilings and millwork and flooring installation has been taking place. This photo doesn't show it, but there is also the base on the flooring is being installed as well. Here's a look at one of the classroom wing corridors. All the wall tile is complete. The drinking fountains are installed. We'll soon be dropping ceiling tile in the middle of the hallway. The tube in the middle is the dehumidification system, which allows the classrooms to have a controlled air and allows us to install the finishes such as millwork in the flooring. Moving on to the second floor, the classroom wing, you can see that the progress of the second floor is following right behind the first floor. In this photo, you can see the guardrail for the stairs has been painted. And to the second door on the farthest end on the left is one of the IDF rooms, and cabling and patch panels are being installed in there. This is one of the science labs. Ceiling tiles being complete. First coat of paint. And on the right, it's hard to see, but you can see that there's the plumbing stub outs for the sinks, as well as that upside down U kind of in the middle for a center sink. In the back, small cubicle is where the eye wash station is. That's installed. The wall tile for that is also installed. And the door to the left is to the prep room. Moving towards the center of the school, last month the ceiling in this area was just framed. Now the drywall has been installed along with the tape and float of the hardwood ceilings. They're also continuing above ceiling MEP work along these two hallways. In the admin area, above ceiling work continues, glazing continues. Ceiling grid has been installed and we will have an above ceiling inspection in this area soon. And in the back, you can better view of one of the emergency exit signs. This is a view of the commons area from the second floor. You have a reference photo or reference plan view on the bottom left of the slide. On the bottom left of the photo, the masonry wall outside of the auditorium is complete. First coat of paint above it. And in the back there, you can see interior framing, and that is for the display cases. In the cafeteria, above ceiling work continues. Moving to the kitchen, we are continuing MEP work. In the top right corner of the photo, you can see a portion of one of the vent hoods, but we do have all of the vent hoods installed. The stage in the auditorium has been painted black. In the right side of or left side of the photo, you can see the dance floor scaffolding still in place, and the high ceilings in the auditorium continues. And they have started closing the hard lid ceilings in the auditorium as well. Now this area is full of the theatrical rigging and motor material. They'll soon begin installing that. Here we are looking at the CTE area of the school. Again, you can reference the overall floor plan on the bottom left of the slide. This is the photo of the welding shop. On the right wall, along that whole wall, is the welding booth ventilation system, and all of that has been installed and continuing with the rest of the MEP work as well. Band hall, continuing MEP in here as well. In this photo of one of the locker rooms, you can see that the ceiling has been painted and the CMU has been block filled, and there's bottom right is one of the locker bases being completed. All of the locker bases and all of the locker rooms have been completed. This is a photo of the corridor between the practice and competition gym. Continuing above ceiling work. This is the competition gym looking at the home stands. All of the bleacher stairs have been poured. All the concrete for the stairs have been poured, along with the spray fireproofing under the seat. The MEP work continues, and just as a reminder, the total capacity for the gym will be seating for 1,300. Masonry work is complete inside the ag barn. It's not shown in this photo, but in the back right, the barn pen steel has been installed. This is the exterior view of the ag barn. The right wall is the north wall facing the existing schools. On the site, the main entry drive to Link Road is continuously being framed and poured. You can see that on the right photo. And the left photo is the new construction entrance on the west side of the building on Link Road. We have closed the construction entrance off of 123 because they are placing the culverts as well as pouring the concrete for the drive. And the overall site picture from the left side of the building is a classroom wing moving along the bottom right, gyms, and then locker rooms. And again, on the top part of the photo, we're placing the box culverts. As stated previously, the roof is complete and they have moved on to installing the coping. And then it's hard to see, but over the competition gym, we have installed the skylights, and also the irrigation system has begun installation. Any questions on the high school?
Random question. Are we paying for like a security detail out there or something like that?
I believe that in the GMP.
Okay.
Cameras.
Cameras?
I don't know
Alright.
what the extent of the security is off the
Because
top
I've
of my
had,
head.
well, I only asked because I've had a couple people ask me, what's the old RV for out there sitting on the property?
Okay, so do you want to tell them?
Someone left it as a
Essentially,
present.
Yes, someone dumped it.
Okay.
And they are, had it, worked to have it removed and make sure that it wasn't
Okay.
anything that belonged to anyone, that someone did not realize that that's not a public parking space. But yes, someone just dumped their RV there. It was a present, one we will not be keeping.
No, I would not hope so.
All right, good evening. 2024 bond projects. Athletics, we are moving into GMP 3, the third and final GMP. We had a pre-bid meeting at the Bartlett Cock offices. So that'll be coming up for the, I believe, April meeting. So getting design there and getting ready to start on that project. Elementary South, it is looking at DD, or the design development documents, for release in early May, so a little over a month out. We're meeting with different focus groups, art, special ed, the admin team, cafeteria, food service, all the different, library, all the different focus group teams, and getting that design developed. They're in the design development part and getting it more detail, and then we will have another round of budgeting and pricing couple weeks after those documents are delivered in early May, once Bartlett Cock, our CM at risk contractor, can run those through their estimating department, get subcontractor input, and get some accurate pricing on those. The public infrastructure permitting documents are in with the city of Seguin and are currently being reviewed. And the TIA, the traffic impact analysis, is through TechStot and is almost wrapped up with the city, so everything is looking well there. The refresh projects, junior high refresh, we will start again here right after the first of the month, meeting with O'Connell Robertson on the existing high school building to be junior high. And then elementary and intermediate, we're working along with LPA as we develop the elementary south drawings on that. Hopefully we can define that scope, get it more defined, and get everything to the budget here very soon, hopefully over the next month. The drives, parking, and playgrounds right out here in front of the elementary and intermediate campuses. We do have a draft contract out to Casillas Construction. We should get that finalized within the next week or two. It usually takes a little while. We do have a kickoff meeting scheduled with them and the architect Corgan middle of this week. Chiller, we had a pre-bid on the 19th. There were 10 contractors in attendance, which is very good. Bids are due April 2nd, and so right after that, we will be reviewing those proposals and getting a recommendation to you in April for the chiller project. Any questions on 2024 bond? All right, thank y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move into item number 7, our discussions. 7A is going to be a presentation from Ms. Gissendanner regarding the teacher engagement in advancing and utilizing instructional technology.
Good evening, President Sartain, members of the board, and Superintendent Eckley. My name is Michaela Gissendanner. I'm the instructional technologist for the district, and I'm here this evening to discuss current systems and strategies that I utilize to facilitate teacher growth with instructional technology and provide a timeline for future innovative practices for the district. What you see here, being new to my role, I wanted to ensure that I provided teachers transparency, that my goal was to work alongside them. So every year at the Back to School Professional Development, I provide each campus the snipping that you see on the left. This is an About Me page that gives them an idea of ways that I can support them. I also streamlined the process for teacher requests by making a Google Calendar booking page, and that link is provided to teachers each year so they can just quickly book within a few minutes to get a system of support from me. And when I started, myself and other members of the academic services team were hearing from a significant number of teachers that professional development wasn't always based on a topic they needed. And so we employed the snipping that you can see on the right, and we send professional development surveys each year to ensure that teachers have voice and choice to make sure we're utilizing their time wisely during professional development sessions. The Technology Integration Matrix is an innovative system that I implemented to align technology integration with district goals. The snipping you see on the left is the matrix build. I built this from the Florida Center for Instructional Technology Research and aligned it to T-TESS as well. This is just one of the 4 levels of the Instructional Technology Matrix. You can see that it has 5 different learning targets. Those are the active, collaborative, constructive, authentic, and goal-oriented components on the far left. The reason why we use those 5 learning targets within this is to provide teachers a sort of step stool of sorts, so their growth doesn't seem like a huge jump or an unachievable goal. They can have small wins that feel rewarding as they progress in their use of instructional technology. The matrix snipping on the left includes a purpose for the technology in each of the 5 targets, as well as what the setting of the classroom would look like, the teacher and student role while utilizing a piece of technology. On the right, that snipping is an instructional indicators list. This is a component that I customized specifically for Navarro. It is aligned to our district goals and also the matrix levels. This is a little bit more teacher facing because each learning target provides an example of an activity and tool that could be utilized in a classroom, and it describes how to increase their technology integration as well as their rigors seamlessly by utilizing that level of instructional indicators list. Here is some data that I've collected since 2023. When I started, I was only assigned to the junior high and high school campuses. This year, due to growth and some staffing transitions, it was determined that I would expand systems of support to all 4 campuses. So you can see the difference in data on the left and right. This data represents 47.9% of staff, or 46 out of the 96 selected teachers. Participation is optional through a classroom observation or a survey that teachers can fill out, as my role is non-evaluative and only a support-based position. My goal for next year is to increase this collection of data to 65%, or add an additional 16 teachers into the data analysis that we have. Here are some integration artifacts that I've collected. This will be spread across the next 2 slides. The pictures on the right side of the slide are from Digital Learning Day. This happened at our intermediate campus. A math teacher utilized Nearpod for a lesson on symmetry. Students not only learned the math concept, but they used virtual field trips to explore lines of symmetry in the real world. And then the teacher connected writing and mathematics by having students complete a digital reflection on what they learned throughout the math lesson. On the left side of the screen at the top, this is Pear Deck, a tool that we have utilized frequently at our junior high campus. This is an example of a drag and drop, so you can see that teachers are being encouraged to utilize technology that aligns with new STAR interactive test types and gives students expanded opportunities to practice those types of questions. This is from a science classroom. They had to drag and drop 2 different icons to label parts of cells. On the bottom, this is a tool called Short Answer. It's gamified learning, and it provides a couple of extra frames for students to make writing interesting, as well as encourage them to rate their confidence before and after receiving peer feedback on their writing, and again, reflect on their learning after they've competed in a class ranking of a written response. Continuing with our integration artifacts, the top left, these are newspapers from our high school US history class. After completing research and utilizing primary sources, they utilized Canva to build their own 1920s version of what a newspaper would look like at that time based on their research notes. In the center, these are multi-layered interactive posters that our English classes at the high school built. So each graphic that you can see laid on top of the background has a link to additional materials that students collected themselves in order to create a virtual study guide of sorts for their classmates. We completed a digital graphic organizer project at the junior high as well. This is just one of 6 or 7 choices that students were able to choose from to complete after reading a novel in their class. And then the bottom is our tech apps class, and this were digital citizenship comic strips projects that these students completed. So moving into how I facilitate technology integration growth. I have 2 guiding principles. The first is true blended learning. I want all teachers to approach technology as a meaningful tool to facilitate learning, not to replace high quality teaching or measures that we know are excellent for students to engage in class. During professional development, I model being a facilitator and dedicate a significant amount of time from those PD sessions to teacher work time. I make the learning relevant, engaging, and collaborative for teachers. I have received excellent feedback on how confident teachers feel and how engaged they are in those sessions, and they leave feeling comfortable to facilitate the integration of a new tool that they've prepared the materials to take into their classroom. My second guiding principle in working with teachers is what you appreciate appreciates. So when teachers allow me to complete observations in their classrooms, even if I see something that's beyond the scope of technology, I try to recognize that positively and recognize them for anything great they're doing with our students. So some examples of how I connect that to technology. If I see a teacher with great classroom management, but they're calling on a limited number of students, I would introduce them to a class names wheel or a name generator to increase the number of students being called on throughout the class. A second example, if a student or teacher utilizes a short project task, I would support the teacher in utilizing Canva or a teacher-driven AI tool to create a rubric or a robust project checklist. Additionally, I would discuss how the teacher could expand the student use of Canva or presentation tools in the Google Education Suite to enhance the student project quality at the end of their timeline. This is just a review of all the professional development that I've provided so far since starting at Navarro. The 2 columns in the middle and right are new innovations that we've had. We provide e-courses, that way teachers can provide complete asynchronous, independent learning opportunities on their own. And then campus PD flyers are created in Canva and released to each campus monthly, and those are posted in staff lounges, restrooms, and they're just micro PDs of little tips, tricks, or tools that teachers can pick up within 5 minutes on their campus. This will be a video tour of our NISD Think Tank Hub. This was something that I lovingly adopted. It was already in place when I got here. It is a Google Classroom, and it is continuously curated by instructional technologists. Teachers have expressed appreciation for having centralized access to information on demand. Within this Think Tank Hub, it contains important announcements, PDF documents, integration how-to guides, videos, and slides presentations. Additionally, whenever possible, I try to provide teachers an opportunity to select which way they would like to integrate a tool into their classrooms. So for example, in this Canva document, there are 3 different ways teachers can connect Google Classroom and Canva, and so I outlined each way in a detailed format so they could pick which way worked best for them. Moving into the second part of the presentation, this is the integration growth timeline and includes different measures that I believe will help increase innovation across the district. So point 1, campus technology plans. These will be founded on the technology integration matrix, and I will be completing calibration work with campus administrators to ensure that T-tests and technology expectations are aligned. Data will be shared with me by principals so we can plan for monthly PD visits, additional professional development sessions, or PLC support. An Eduphoria transition that we are currently considering would be upgrading to Aware Premium, Beacon Lesson Planning, and Strive for PD. The Forethought Lesson Planner has been a negative and challenging experience for our teachers this year, which is not my goal for any experience our teachers have with technology. The new Beacon Lesson Plan is being released from Eduphoria in response to the challenges of Forethought, and I attended a session at TCEA to learn how these three components of Eduphoria will align and work seamlessly. So if we utilize these three components, administrators and myself would be able to identify teachers' goals for technology integration, track progress of their integration in their lesson plans, and provide professional development that's aligned to the needs that we're seeing arise through the other two components of the system. And then I will jump to number 6, since we kind of already covered monthly campus visits and PLC schedules. Number 6, if you're not aware, last year the technology application TEKS were updated in the state of Texas, and they are robust. I worked with our tech apps teachers in a PLC this year to ensure that they felt confident and prepared to begin addressing those new standards. We also adopted learning.com as their curriculum. It was aligned to Texas standards specifically, and they had great support. For future integration planning, we know that keyboarding is an essential component of any student succeeding with technology. So we will be looking at adding a keyboarding rotation at some of our campuses. We are employing keyboarding data trackers for technology applications teachers. We piloted that at our junior high, and it was very successful this year and very informative for the teacher to know how much time they needed to dedicate to those practical technology concept skills. Additionally, I would like to identify best fit campuses for smart lab installations. We saw a smart lab at Kirby Middle School and Judson ISD. I also have experience working at a campus with a smart lab, and the power they can provide to address computational thinking TEKS, which are coding and students being able to create data in a computer. These kind of smart lab spaces would help us be able to address those standards. Additionally, we are looking at integrating technology application TEKS wherever we can, whether that be a science classroom, math classroom. The number of repeated exposures we can provide students to those standards will ensure that our students are prepared for any path they choose to take post K-12 education and have a strong foundation in practical technology concepts. One final component of innovation here is I would like to expand the Digital Citizenship Campaign Week that I ran this year into a full K-12 scope and sequence across the district. So our students are safe and learning those key skills of how to be an excellent person on a computer, not just how to utilize one. These are my main goals for the summer and moving into next school year. So this summer I'll be offering a project-based learning experience for teachers. It will be 3 days. I am offering it at 2 different times to provide flexibility and increase scheduling access for teachers. And of course, providing snacks, because who doesn't love a snack at PD? It's been one of my greatest techniques to get teachers interested, and so I'm very excited to share in that experience. They will write a lesson plan and have me to help facilitate. So I'll write a model lesson for them of how to integrate technology. We'll kind of dissect that together, and then they'll build a lesson plan that they can utilize the next school year and have a head start. Additionally, we will be releasing this NISD instructional technology cohorting model. So these are levels 1 through 4. They are badges that will be sent to teachers. They can post them wherever they want and brag about their success. And you can see I took all of our district tools and aligned them from levels 1 to 4. So these also have been paired with things like project-based learning, of course utilizing TextQuest because it's an amazing resource that is really affordable to school districts. And then just ensuring that students are having really strong instructional opportunities aligned to our technology package we already offer. And I am proud to say nothing has been added, and we only purchase like 2 things on this entire list. So I'm really trying to leverage things that are provided, possibly free or low cost to us, and make sure we maximize the use of tools we have, not just add a bunch of things to teachers. So that is the end of my presentation. I can answer any questions, and also if you'd like to see it, I printed out, I have some teacher feedback from teachers that I've worked with, as well as the Tech Apps PLC. So if you'd like to see kind of what teachers have said about my work over the past year, I'm happy to share that with you.
First of all, thank you very much for that presentation. That was very thorough, and I appreciated that.
Thank you.
It was a great presentation. On the teacher feedback, if you would email that to me, and I assume some of the other board members would like that
Yeah.
as well.
Do you want to email? I have it right here if you'd like the paper, or I can email
You
it.
can just email it to me.
Okay, yeah, that works.
Thank you.
Sounds
Or,
good.
Mrs. Epley can email it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
I might not have understood, so if I didn't clarify, you said that only 47 of the teachers were participating in what?
Yeah, so the
in
data
discussion
represented
provided?
47.9 of staff, or 46 out of 96. So obviously, I would not cover 100% of teachers every year. There are significant bands of teachers that I wouldn't observe or send the survey to. Especially our math teachers this year, they were in curriculum adoption and were really overwhelmed. So I talked to campus administrators, and we chose to kind of give them some breathing room.
Okay.
I primarily focus on English, science, social studies. Those areas are some of the easiest integrations. I have started wrapping in CT at the high school. With DFIT, that's been one of the biggest things in a training. I kind of typed in like welding and some of their CTE things and showed them. So I'm hoping with showing teachers that I can kind of broaden. Not all of them thought that I partnered with them in my role, so that's my hope. As in showing them in professional development, we can increase the kind of net and depth of the support I'm providing.
Okay, that kind of answered my question. So my question was going to be, from the teachers that aren't participating in it, do you think that that's because they feel like they're already technologically advanced or technologically savvy enough to not have to, or is there a resistance there that needs to be addressed? Like, what supports do you need to get the participation that you think would make our teachers successful and in turn make our students more successful? Is we need to amp up our technology, so that's what I'm asking.
For sure, I completely agree with you. I think there's a little bit of both. We do have some excellent adopters that are very strong. I would say the number of teachers that would be in an increase group would be minimal in that. There is a large need to increase our technology. And so the campus technology plan is my main goal of how to increase that, especially partnering with administrators and me being able to have data. I did notice that myself going in to complete observations did start to damage some of my trusting relationships with teachers. I had a team admit, like, oh, I got the text message you were coming around today. And so I kind of hit pause on that because I don't want teachers to see me in that light. And so I think with the campus technology plans of clarifying, like, here's our expectations as a campus. And then the cohorting list of level 1 is the minimum. This will be utilized in your classroom daily, and then you will expand from there. I think all of us being on the page of supporting, you know, the levels 1 through 4, and me having access to the data from administrators will kind of help reestablish my support role, and being able to track integration goals through Eduphoria and having that be an expectation for teachers. I have reached out to some instructional technologists from surrounding districts that have done this for longer than I have, because I just wanted to make sure my thinking was on the right track and how to expand. And they said this was supported by a vast group of individuals at their school district, and it became part of their culture. So I think that is our next step, shared common language and expectations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
I have a couple comments that I want to make. First, I think that everything that I've heard today, you're doing a great job. I really do appreciate the presentation, because one of my questions was going to be about the number of teachers and why we were comparing junior high and high school to the other, but you answered that. I do have, one thing, and I want to clarify, are teachers taking the TIM assessment to determine their level, or is that just based on your observations, whether they're at the entry or the adaptation, based on your levels for that? Is that from the TIM survey, or is that from your data collection?
So we utilized both. So
Okay,
some
so you just
teachers
looked it up.
scheduled a classroom observation. Other teachers, I built a robust survey that included those instructional indicators of like, what do you utilize frequently? How often do you do that?
Okay.
And so then I sifted through all of that and
Okay, so
decided
then-
where they would level.
Okay, so my question with that relates a little bit to what Ms. Sartain was talking about in terms of the collaboration there with the curriculum, and whether or not it is built as such to incorporate that, or why we have so many people at the entry level. The TIM model shouldn't be new to Navarro. It may be just because I'm not sure how much was done with it in the last couple of years, but it should not be new. So the number of entry level was a little bit surprising to me, and the question about the 47%, because my follow-up to that was going to be, why is not everybody participating? It does make sense in terms of how you explained it, and you are one person. And that's difficult. However, in terms of, forethought is limiting, so I'm hoping that the change there can help. But is it more of a resource issue? Is it network connectivity issues? What are the things that are surrounding people not engaging a little bit further into that entry level? And as Ms. Sartain said, what is it that you need, and whether or not the curriculum that we are implementing and the PLCs are lending it? Because I see you're doing your own plans, which is great, as long as it ties to the campus improvement plans, in terms of working with that particular group. So it's not really a question as much as a statement.
Right.
Yep.
Gotcha.
But that's what I hear when you talk about that. And so the only other question that I would have is, you are using DFID, and that is a fairly decent AI product for creating lesson plans and so on. I would be interested if the district is doing anything additional with AI policy in terms of dealing with that and where we're going with the students, because that's kind of the next thing that
Yep.
we'll have to tackle with that, because even that particular product can get out of hand when it comes to creating lessons and not
Exactly.
comparing it to the curriculum that's put in, and how we're working with that. So there's a big learning curve there for
There
a lot of
is.
people, because it looks so good when it pops out of the
Yep.
system, right?
So
And so I'm glad to see that you're doing it. I would just like to, and you don't have to answer that right now,
Yep.
whether or not we're developing some other kind of AI policy.
We are, and she's
around that.
welcome to
Yeah.
answer,
Yeah.
but yes, that's
So
part of the
one thing
process.
that I've encouraged with DFID is to utilize it, especially for like translating or creating an additional resource. We typically use it for the activity component and that AI boost of saving teachers time. And of course, we've talked on the 80-20 rule. I'm very careful about like, don't just run this and put it in front of students. So right now it's mainly resource to gauge their interest and make teachers feel comfortable with that. I am researching a lot of AI, meeting with some reps. I'm going to an AI summit at Region 20 next week. So I'm trying to make sure that I myself am at least trying to be on the curve. It's moving at the speed of light. And I've started having some conversations. I think we do need to establish some sort of committee to have a lot of voices be heard around what we would create as a policy or what tool we would utilize as a district. So I would really enjoy serving on a committee with a group of other people to figure out what would fit Navarro best.
Right, and we did already have this conversation about next steps with AI, especially after we left governance camp, which I know we're going to talk about, where we heard from students that it was very clear to them when teachers had written lessons using AI, because when they were asking for, like, can you give me an example of what mastery of this assignment would look like, and they were getting no response from their teacher because their teacher had just plugged it into an AI system. And I think our students and teachers will have to be educated about what is the appropriate use, and we know it saves time in a lot of ways, but how are we double checking? And then if you are going to utilize it to create a lesson for kids, you still have to be able to answer, what does mastery of this assignment that I had AI help create look like? And I think Michaela's done an excellent job of helping us understand the culture of resistance. And I think, certainly going into COVID and kind of having it thrust upon you, I think we've seen some of the staff say, well, now that we don't need that, I'm backing off, rather than embracing that it doesn't necessarily mean it's a whole new way of teaching. There's small pieces that we can implement to continue what we ask kids to do, but in a way that makes truly and honestly data collection so much easier when we're putting that into a peer deck, or I can see kids in real time answering and calculate those things. And so I think she's doing a great job of offering a bunch of options, whether that's, hey, if you don't want to give up your time in the summer, you have this access piece, but it really is us coming up with this plan of how are we going to monitor that, what is the expectation, and that is a conversation we're having to, I think was a great point about what does a lesson look like, what is the expectation as a whole, and how does it integrate, and talking with the academic service team about what is our collaborative vision for what a lesson should look like here in Navarro, and do we have the supports to make that happen? If we don't, what training, what tools, and then that's us coming back to you as a board and saying, we feel like we need more training in this area, or we feel like we need some upgraded tools. We may need another staff member to make sure that we continue to grow the support that teachers need. But that's also supporting our administrators to have a good understanding of what should I see in every class, not only related to instructional technology, but curriculum as a whole. What should I never see? And that's a concern for me in where we define the line, because I do see concerns with, if I can turn kids over, and I love the way you phrased it, that we want to be able to integrate it and make it a tool that helps learning, not becomes the sole way students are learning. If we have a complete internet shutdown, which needs to not happen, and we know that, but we absolutely know that our teachers could continue to teach with no problem, because there's not a reliance solely on putting a kid on a program. That's not the instructional technology that we've discussed, and we're excited to take that next step and define that. So I appreciate what you guys have pointed out. I think we're all on the same page.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think when the calibration and technology planning at the beginning of next school year is completed, we, like Mrs. Epley said, we'll have a very discrete list of where each campus is at, and then we'll have some great tracking data specifically for needs or successes.
Well, and I would be interested to hear back on that, and I don't know how to say it without sounding harsh, but I don't feel real warm and fuzzy about the resistance of teachers to integrating technology into their classroom. So whatever we need to do to support the administrators and academic services and you and the teachers so that they're confident in doing that, because the only people that's hurting is our students.
Exactly.
So we need to advance that.
I sincerely appreciate that. It has been, the one gut-wrenching piece in my work, because I see it. And
Well, we
yeah,
appreciate
so
it.
I really appreciate that. Thank you. Any other questions I can answer? Okay, thank you very much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to, sorry, I'm operating off of paper. Talking about the Board of Trustees Governance Camp Review. 5 of us and Mrs. Epley attended governance camp in the beginning of March. And I asked for this to be on the agenda just so those of us that were there can kind of give back a little report on, highs, lows, that kind of thing, and just discuss with those who couldn't make it, and then also just so that our community knows that we're putting in the time and the effort to be our very best for them. So.
Randy kind of alluded to one of the classes that we sat in together, and it was students talking about how technology has become a way of life, and how they deal with the time away from it, or how to get away from it, the activities that they do and the things that they need to turn off technology, because they were a lot of their things at their school were so focused on technology that they needed an outlet. They needed some form of outlet. Some of them was athletics, some of it was video games, which is odd that it's, another form of technology, but it was real interesting listening to how they needed other forms and other, I don't even want to say courses, they needed other things on campus that could alleviate some of that stress. And there was multiple different things.
Who else would like to share?
I can share a couple of things. I did attend one of the AI sessions, but we've kind of talked about that a little bit, but probably the biggest piece of that they really focused on in terms of that had to do with cell phones. I believe there's at least 4 bills at the legislature that deals with taking them completely out of the classrooms, and there are a few school districts who have kind of done that. They don't necessarily take them out of the classrooms, they just kind of get locked up as they go into the class. And I know it's kind of a controversial piece there, but now that we provide the technology for the students, there's not as much need for that constant connection with the cell phone. So that was one of the big pieces, but probably one of the most informative ones I went to, actually they didn't give me credit for going to it because TASB they're not allowed to be in lobby form, so to speak, during a legislative session. But it was probably the most informative about what's going on in Austin in terms of some of the changes that they're making, especially in the discipline area. And they're changes that are good and will benefit the district. I know one of them is no longer making it a requirement that if a child has a vape on them, that it's an automatic placement into disciplinary alternative education. A lot of people don't realize how quickly that fills up your DAEP program, which was originally designed for truly disciplinary issues, and repealing some of that as well. One of the big ones was, and this I think is something that is new around COVID, was increasing the age by which you could place a student in out-of-school suspension. So we've always had the rule that you could not have, and it's been, I guess, law or statute, any child under the age of 10, you could not send them to DAEP, you could not send them to out-of-school suspension, you could not have them met with an officer, and they are looking at changing that and making it go down as far as 3rd grade because of the repeated disruptions and the issues that we're seeing across the state with students at that particular age. And there were lots of other good information in there about state assessment and then wanting to allow teachers to actually score parts of the STAR, so that was positive. Of course, funding is was the huge part of that. We're hearing a lot about that, and that's kind of up in the air. The one thing that I went to that was super fun was a program called HADO, and it's an esports program, and I know y'all referred to it just a few minutes ago about students wanting to play video games, but the esports realm is getting huge. And this one was really cool because it was intermediate age kids, and they were basically playing dodgeball with the AI, the VR headsets, and they were having a great time, and it was really cool, and it was fun to see how many kids they were able to involve in that. And I know it does a lot of other things, and VR headsets are one of those things that give me heartache simply because every child puts that thing on their face, and all I can think of is germs and children with all sharing a mask and a phone and all these things, but it was very neat, and that was a lot of fun to see.
Yeah. I'll just echo, I know that session was very powerful to me, hearing the students talk about the research they've done on what screen time does to students, humans in general, with anxiety, and the more time you spend on the depression and anxiety that they experience. But exactly what you're saying, even he was a drum major who said, absolutely band is that escape. It really was about connecting, and that they were looking to have human connection. And we know that's one of our priorities, is those extracurricular opportunities for kids to learn to communicate, to speak to live humans. But he mentioned the gaming world from that standpoint of that teamwork that happens and having to collaborate with your teammates online to achieve a goal. And that is really the struggle when you look at esports, you know, because a lot of parents will say, oh, you're going to encourage them to sit in a chair and do a game. But truly and honestly, it is learning that strategy. It's very much like group chess and those students getting that opportunity to communicate with each other because they have to each develop their own skills. And as you know, we are starting that program. We got a wonderful grant from the Education Foundation to assist with that. So we know we'll be really being that outlet for kids and expanding that. And the scholarship opportunities for that are tremendous because it's sort of like NASCAR. They get their own sponsors, and it actually has more viewing than the Super Bowl does when you look at the International Championship of Esports. So it's very popular around the world. But I was very impressed with them talking about that they were starting to see the value in those opportunities of human connection and fostering that, even talking about their own presentation, about when it was just Zoom meeting, they weren't getting work done, but when the district, there were two different high schools, for those of you who weren't part of this, two different high schools in the district, but when the district had them bused to one location and they had a meal together and started planning, suddenly the work started to happen and that collaboration happened. And I think that's an amazing lesson for us. Just, you know, reverting back to the integration as well. Technology is never not going to be part of their world. So we do have to prepare them and we have to help them understand how to utilize it to its best advantages, but not forgetting those human pieces of, do I know how to speak to people live? Do I know how to navigate personality? How do I make connections? And even just the meal, I know Dan will appreciate it as well. The fact that they had a meal together, that's a huge part of understanding how humans collaborate and communicate and how we break the ice on things. So that whole child piece, I think, gets echoed in what we saw. And certainly hearing that directly from the students was something I enjoyed about the conference as well.
And I really enjoyed there were several sessions about the Superintendent's Advisory Council. And you've done a great job starting those, and the kids, I know some kids that are doing it, they feel really connected. And that's what everybody at the conference was saying. The kids felt connected and they had a say, and they could see that it was a valuable thing to do. So thank you for starting that here.
Thank you.
And just the team, I mean, just our team building there was great.
Yes.
It was good too.
So I guess I'm the only one not to talk yet, right?
Yeah, because I go last.
Yeah. So yes, number one, first and foremost, what I told Dan on the way back home, because he was my free passenger, was that I enjoyed the teamwork more than anything than bonding. I think it was good to get out and not be contentious and just focus on what the true goals and priorities are. But secondly, since we're all talking about all this technology stuff, I would say that was a great presentation, fantastic presentation, but the best presentation was by the ag kids. Those kids know how to talk to people, those kids know how to interact with people. It was a fantastic presentation by a group of kids in Arlington, Texas that have only an ag barn, and they live in neighborhoods, and they're raising championship steers, and they're going off to be vets, and it just, I know we're talking about technology, and I know we have technology people here, I'm not. So to see those ag kids really, it really shows that piece about how important it is to have both. They were fantastic. And actually would love to hire a couple of them. So anyway.
So there were a couple sessions that really stood out to me. Kind of a side note before I get into those, I attended one that was on compensation and goal setting and compensation during not knowing what's going on with our budgets. And I feel fairly confident that our compensation task force has a fairly good grasp on how to take care of that. Because a lot of things that they were talking about, I was like, you know,
check, check, check. So, yeah, I feel like, you know, again, thank you for coming and getting those things underway, engaging our community and our stakeholders in that stuff. That was one of the really big things that they were pushing, was like that has to be part of what you're doing. And so I don't know, you were in that one with me. I feel like we've got a pretty good grasp on that. So I just wanted to say that. One of the other ones that I got a lot out of was about communicating and having effective meetings and things like that. So just being in this role was very different than sitting on the side of the table, and so I'm learning things, and so that was really interesting for me too. And then, you know, we all have the things that we love that we do outside of this, and I'm in legal, and they had a CTE presentation from a school that has put a paralegal and mediation program into their CTE program, and those kids blew me away. I was so impressed by their hard work, because that's a hard program, and they do the certifications through UT, so I know that's difficult, and I was just, I don't know, I know we're getting a little more business focused, and so I was like, hey, you know, this falls in that realm, and so along those lines, you know, we tend to gravitate towards the things that we're passionate about, and that's just one of mine. So, and the difference between the governance camp that we all attended and the SLI camp that happens in the summer is SLI is facilitated by vendors and superintendent school boards, adult partners, and things like that. And governance camp, the majority of it is going to be facilitated by student groups and students. So there were a lot of like superintendent leadership groups. I attended one from Fort Bend ISD, and it's not their superintendent in charge. It's completely different teachers, and it's a 2-year program for them. They apply, and it's not their best of the best, cream of the crop kids. You just have to have a C average and a passion for wanting to learn how to be a leader, and it takes them through 2 years. They have a capstone project. They've got to do like a book study. It was really cool watching these kids be passionate about something that they've been in, and I wish we could go to all of them and see all of them, because the kids deserve the attention and the recognition. So, and I know we've got great things in the pipeline for our own students coming, you know, to things like that. And I had asked Mrs. Epley to attend governance camp this year because she had not been before, because that's something I think that our students should be engaging in also. And so that was one of the reasons I had asked her to go. So, any other comments or questions or discussions about governance camp?
I was just gonna say, I have already shared with our administrators that I felt like we have some wonderful programs to showcase with our students as well. So the plan was to get to know the lay of the land, how does this thing work, and then seeing about our students coming and contributing and talking about what we do. But also Ms. Sarteen's experience with that leadership capstone project, talking a little bit about how we evolve our Panther Shake. So our students this year in the elementary and intermediate grades, having the opportunity to learn that connection and handshake and start a conversation and introduce yourself. But how does that evolve as we go into junior high and then high school to continue those leadership skills? And so certainly looking at that as a model, and then also sharing with our secondary principals a session that Ms. Sartain and Mr. Scheib and I attended about suicide awareness, and their student councils having kindness activities and awareness activities. Actually very shocking, when we came in, they had a QR code to fill out a survey, and 11% of the adults in the room attending had identified that they had had thoughts of suicide. So just really powerful the way that the students had researched the topic, and were being very proactive on their campus to be open to students and say, you know, hey, we value you, we're glad you're here, here's opportunity for connection, and here's what you can do if you're having these feelings. And so certainly sharing that connection with our own administrators. So overall, thought it was excellent, and hope to have our kids represented there in the future.
On that same note, that same class, I really appreciated the mentoring effect You know, it wasn't necessarily that they were that student's mentor, they weren't the ones that, you know, they weren't there every day, but they had a schedule where they had to check in on them, they had to stop them in the hallway and say, hi, how's your day going? That really changes a person's perspective. Just somebody walking up to them and saying, hey, how you doing, really turns that student's day around, and it can really make a big effect. It was insane.
Yeah. Well, and just the participation that they got from the students, I think one
Right.
was more than what they were expecting,
Oh,
and I know it was a lot more than what I was expecting when they were giving us their data on that. And I also think it's a hard topic, and it's a hard conversation to have. And I know, you know, before being in this position and being a parent and having 3 kids go through the school district, I think that's something that has been hard for our community to discuss, that is a reality that we deal with. That is something that our students struggle with. And so I think it's an important conversation that we need to start having, and it not be something we're scared to talk about. So, yeah.
Along those same lines, one of the ones that I went to, it was a much smaller district that implemented it, but it had to do, which a lot of times leads to some of those suicidal thoughts have to do with student bullying and the way that they handled that in their district. And the group of students that was there, they were part of what they considered a task force, and they were not the eloquent speakers. They were not the popular kids. In fact, most of them identified that they had been bullied at some point in school. And were really, what was interesting about what they had to say is that one of the struggles I know that we have in schools is identifying what classifies as bullying versus what classifies as just flat out mean behavior and just ugliness, you know, because bullying has gotten to be such kind of a key word. And, you know, these kids identifying what that is and how to combat just people being mean versus, you know, how to step into that and the development of those skills in those students. And they even talked about scenarios that they had at their schools and the ways that they would stop it before an administrator even had to. So, you know, along those same lines, programs like that to utilize those task force for those kids to combat those everyday issues that sometimes seem to fill up the assistant principal's office in terms of, you know, what kids are saying and how they're reacting.
Anything else? All right. We will go ahead and move into reports. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or anything on 8A, the campus and department activity reports, principals, athletics, fine arts directors, and district departments?
I do.
Well, let's hear it.
So I have a couple actually. I'll start with my question about the Human Resources Board report. I think we talked about stay interviews a while back. I think those are fantastic, awesome, super wonderful things. But in reading that, it says we've done 20. And it reads as though we are, they can sign up and go do them whenever they want. And if I remember correctly, we talked about getting the best of the best in these stay interviews, right? That's who the first ones are. So my question is, number one, how are we promoting these stay interviews to encourage them? And then number two, are we looking for the not best of the best? Are we looking for those that are actually, because the definition here said, to learn specific actions that we must take to strengthen the employee's engagement and retention. And so that leads me more towards the not best of the best and those that are wavering. Are we having an opportunity to interview those?
No, Sam, thank you for the question. Thanks for this opportunity to address the board. So the state interviews is by design, the intention in the long term, according to like the designers of the process, is to really hold them with every employee. So in some cases, you're going to be really looking at the best of the best. How can we keep them here? From those who are planning to stay forever, you want to learn how you can support them better and make a better results and experience for them. And then clearly for the ones who are perhaps those who you aren't certain you want to stay, you still have a stay interview because you want to really learn and understand what is it that makes them tick and how can you help support them to be effective before we take the dramatic step of separating with them. And so the long-term goal really would be to ensure that we're using the state interview process with everybody. Now, whether we choose as a district to do them specifically as stay interviews, or we incorporate some of those practices into other processes and other work that the supervisors do. That's, I think, the question that I was asking this year, was, is this a process that we want to commit to doing as a separate thing with everybody? Or is it something where we want to take some of what we learn and say, we can do that through our appraisal process, or we can do that through other conferencing I do with my staff? And so that's the kind of experiment we're doing. So I would say that the 20 were those that I initially conducted with with teachers that were recommended from each campus. From that came the idea that it's really more important that the direct supervisor do it, because they're the ones who can impact it more.
So eventually you're looking from us to just approve a method, or?
So I don't think it would necessarily require board approval, although we always appreciate the input and feedback. But the stay interview process would really be part of just the work of supervision that our principals and our directors do. And so it is not an investment of additional resources, it's not a change of anything in policy, so it really is something that is going to be considered like good practice for our supervisors.
I totally agree, it's great practice. I just want to know how we're getting there.
Right.
Because I felt like we were going, and I don't know, I guess the board report made it feel like we're still where we were a month ago.
Right, so what has been done this year is we did the initial pilot with 20 teachers who were recommended by principals, and then we developed the process of this is what it could look like here. And then I held the stay interviews with each of our directors, and so that was the next step, was because they talked about the importance of cascading. You start with this director who then does it with their directors. And so currently we're at the stage of it's expecting every director to hold some stay interviews. And the feedback I've been getting is that it's been a valuable process for them, and they were trying to do it with more. But at this point, we didn't set specific targets or expectations because there's a lot of other things happening with our supervision and with our principals. But we will decide, I think, before the end of this year, are we going to set the expectation? But we're not coming in and just saying, oh, here's something we read about, everyone has to do it right now, because that could cause more disruption if we're disrupting other processes. Because now everyone's, I have to do 20 stay interviews this week, and foregoing their other responsibilities.
Okay, sure. I appreciate that. I was just trying to understand how this is looking moving forward.
And I think we were taking your feedback from the last board meeting related to the concern. Obviously, the easiest way for us to implement feedback is through the supervisor, but the concern is also there that, am I going to get honest feedback? If I'm concerned that's going to hurt me. We know retaliation is illegal, but as I like to tell everyone, frankly, if I had $1 for every time somebody said I'm worried about retaliation, you'd be rich, because people are worried that if I tell a coach, if I tell my teacher, it's just human nature to say, I don't know that I want to tell you how I really feel about it, because that may impact the way you treat me. So I think that's part of this pilot, is us really talking through what's the most effective way to do this, so that we don't create more tension with the staff, that they're like, oh, I'm freaking out because this week's my stay interview, and should I really tell the truth about how I feel about things or not? And that creates more tension than the positive of the stay interview. So I anticipate we will gather back and really kind of set some goals and metrics for that going into next year, and really, again, solidify that training of our directors, if they are going to be the ones doing it, or if that's going to be the campus administrators.
Quite honestly, the word pilot really helps me answer all those questions. It really does. So thank you. I mean, it's a great idea. It's a great tool. Thank you.
Can I share? He did a state interview, as he said, he did state interviews with all the directors, and then we in turn did that with our teams. And I've done 50% of my team, and I will tell you, he provided for us laminated questions, and then we put them down in front of our persons we're interviewing and get the feedback. And I type notes, and I tell them I'm going to type notes while we're doing this. It has been so valuable.
Sure.
My team has been so appreciative for it is cold, I'm sorry. They've been so appreciative for the opportunity to give the feedback. And it's, one of the questions when he did the state interviews with us is, when is the last time you thought about leaving?
Sure.
And
Yeah, I remember that from last time.
I think, that's very valuable. Is on my way to work this morning, I thought about leaving.
I was gonna say, are you getting honest feedback
Yes.
on that question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's been very, very valuable, very, very helpful, and I think, David's created a very good thing for us by laminating the cards, making the process easy. I meet weekly with my staff, and I've been meeting with them one-on-one prior to our end of the year evaluation, and there are 5 questions. I mean, on the short side, 15 minutes of a conversation with the staff member, on the long side, 30, depending on what's on their heart and what kinds of things are going through their minds. But Dave's done a great job of facilitating it. By doing it with us, I think it was very valuable for us as well. But I just want to compliment him on that, because I do think that it is being done. He maybe doesn't know all the numbers that have already been conducted, but it is happening across the district, and it's very powerful.
And I don't think you'll get a disagreement from anybody that's a great idea. When I read the board report, the pilot thing changes how I read that, so that's great. So.
And Dr. Kaufman, you mentioned, so there's the event of a stay interview, right? It's on your calendar, it's scheduled, you're thinking about it in advance, you're probably Googling stay interview. But then there's also just the culture or mentality of every supervisor who has a team that reports to them to be always thinking about those 5 questions it could be a hallway conversation where a teacher expresses a need of support. Well, I could argue that that can be very closely related to reasons they would stay or leave.
Sure.
So it's in addition to being an event, just a culture. So thank you.
I just want to, thank you for that clarification, because I think that is a key point to it, is that you're trying to build the trust and build the kind of efficacy to know that if I raise a concern, it's going to be addressed. And that can, in the long term, kind of minimize the need for state interviews, because people will know that they just need to go to someone when they have a question.
Yeah.
So I think, thank you for bringing up the culture building part.
Yeah, great, yeah, lovely.
What else?
Yeah.
Yes.
I told you I was in meetings all day, I couldn't get to you, I'm sorry.
It's all good.
The next one is pretty simple. It's back to my simplicity of life. In the academic service report, it mentions field trips that we're using NEF grant money on, and that's really cool. But it also, so then I have 2 questions to this. Number 1, and then it mentions STEM mobile labs being a field trip. I just don't understand that being a field trip, because they're coming here and they're not going anywhere. To me, a field trip is going to the Alamo or something like that. So that led to my second question. Because it was a conversation with a parent that their kid took their kid to the Alamo, and they're like, what am I doing here? I'd rather go to River Center Mall. And so are we still doing, what kind of field trips are we still doing other than this STEM mobile lab and NEF grant stuff?
So that was Mrs. Adams talking about some of the GT additional things that they're doing, but as far as field trips are concerned, that's, the Alamo is part of our 4th grade curriculum.
Yes.
And that is something that
In 7th grade, it used to be, correct?
it used to be, but now it's
Not
4th grade.
anymore.
Yeah, 4th graders go, they can also do the missions, we have the missions trip as well. At this point, we have activity funds on every campus for our students to participate in field trips. So there are quite a few. I know Mrs. Wilson, your kids are going, 2nd grade just went somewhere.
About to go to the aquarium.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to clarify, because when we talk field trips, we're talking NEF grants, but I'd love to, Texas history was in March, the Texas Independence Day was in March. If we went to a field trip to the Alamo, we would love to have read about that.
Yes.
So stuff like that, okay, so cool.
We definitely connect as many of those field trips as we can. And time-wise, yes, if it's a historical event or there's something special going on, like sometimes with the Alamo, they have special proclamations and paperwork for the kids to see. The actual document is there behind glass, so we do try to coordinate that. And sometimes we have to bring things here, like the planetarium has been here.
Why is it not on 7th grade anymore?
Well, our social studies teachers have changed.
Okay,
I mean, they do still study Texas history,
Yes.
yes, but they take that actual experiential trip in 4th grade. They're pushing them down earlier. 4th grade is when they get the big study of what the Alamo is all about.
I'll have to talk to Abby about that.
Sorry, I want to make a comment about that. So, and the only reason I want to say this is that I do feel like there is some rhetoric out there that we should be providing more of that. I know we did more field trips and more things to museums for experiential learning, to, even 7th grade, you know, yes, going to the Alamo at 4th grade is one thing, but when you're a little bit older, I think, or maybe go to Goliad, maybe go to the different one, you know, because the tie is still there. And I'm only saying that because one of the things that people always loved about Navarro, and I know that we're growing, and I know that it creates a big issue. You're not gonna take all 175 7th graders to the Alamo in one day. That means it's gonna have to be done over a period of time, and I recognize that, or wherever it is that they're going, for whatever purpose it is. I'm just using that because it's easy. Navarro was able to provide the small community school that provided many of the things that draw people away from public schools. And field trips and that experiential piece is one of those things that draws people away. And yet, I don't want to see, and I hope we don't see our district change to the point of, well, we're the larger district, so we just don't do that anymore. You know, I have middle school kiddos, and I'll agree, they don't, you know, yeah, we're gonna go to Schlitterbahn at the end of our 8th grade year. Okay, that's a great reward trip.
Sure.
But we're not learning anything out of that. And I think there, especially where we are, there's a lot of rich things that we can draw and do from that, even if we have to think about it differently. Because I think we are up against, you know, I mentioned listening about House Bill 3 and what Senate Bill 2, and all of that is really coming to a head. And I know that there's not a lot of fear in this area because we don't have a lot of charter schools, we don't have a lot of private schools, we don't have a lot of that right here. But when it comes to some of those things, can we be a little different in that? And I just want to say that from a standpoint of, like, not that we have to, but maybe make that part of the conversation, because we used to do those things, and it created that, you know, if we're the heart of Geronimo, what makes us different from everybody else? Instead of saying, well, nobody else really does that at that point because of X, Y, Z. We can learn a lot more sometimes by experiencing, and even the soft skills, just knowing how to act in a museum.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's even tied to the curriculum or not. And I know elementary does a lot, I know intermediate does a lot, but you know what? Some of our secondary kiddos don't have those manners, and they don't, and we have students that are moving in. So just, you know, if I could piggyback on that commentary, that's what I would say about that.
Well, and I think it's important to recognize that many of our students don't go outside of the walls of their neighborhood.
Correct.
So that's something, those experiences, I'm thinking about capital trips. We've taken groups to the Capitol, they've learned about the systems of government. We do that in the summertime. You know, what if we push that into the school year and those students have that governance camp as well, where they're learning about the branches of government and they're actually getting to talk, the politicians will come and talk with them. And it sparks an interest in their social studies. So I agree with you. We've been trying to find, especially in CTE, opportunities to get kids out into the STEM field, going out into different environments to learn about opportunities, you know, work environments that maybe they've never seen before. The McNay has a program that it's free. They go for free, and they even pay for your transportation to get you there. And they have many secondary exhibits that would be exceptional for our kids to see. So I love what you're talking about. It gets my heart happy.
So I think, I'm sorry, you mentioned GT, and I just want to say that's fantastic that GT's doing it. I'm talking about
All kids.
All kids.
I'm talking about the kids that are
Yes.
not in a trailer program.
Yes.
That are not GT.
I agree.
So I just want to clarify who I'm talking about.
Yes.
So I'm like coming out of my skin because this is like all about what I believe in. I feel like I must say things, right? But truly, we know through research that kids learn through experience. Those experiences, if I spoke to every board member in here, every adult in here, as to why you chose the profession you did or why you're passionate about certain things, you would all be able to relate an experience to me. And that is a big part of what we cultivate. I will tell you, coming here, I saw more field trips than I've ever seen in any school district, so I know that that has been a cornerstone here. I think what we are recovering from, and I'm trying to push that more quickly, is we saw a lot of barriers with COVID, whether it was, now we're not gonna have people come up to school, now we're not gonna have, performances, now we're going to not have lunch with our kids, and, they set all of that up, and now we're having to say, no, we need that back, whether it was Run Club, which has just exploded, right? Whether it is more of those experiential-based field trips that are connected to our curriculum, We have an amazing support system, whether that's our PTOs, our foundation, our 501c3s that are willing to support us in those supplementary experiences. What I am fundamentally looking to see as we develop this out and make it more consistent is that we approach this from a pre-K-12 perspective. So if I am part of the Navarro experience, what does that look like in what I was exposed to out in my world, in my community, what was brought in? Sometimes what I've seen in districts is it's very teacher-centric, like I'm tired of going to the zoo, so let's change our field trip to X, right? It's really that holistic approach of if zoo is always first grade because we are experiencing, you know, animals in that setting and we're learning about that, right? It's not about the adult's experience, it's that student experience, and to your point, very much about developmental, about how do I behave in these different settings, how do I engage, how do I get the most out of it, right? Because I think we could all say if we've toured the Alamo, that can be a 2-minute trip.
Yes.
Or you could spend the day if you know how to engage with the docents, you know how to talk to the Daughters of the American Revolution, you're able to have those conversations with the folks that run it, you know when an exhibit is happening, and I think those are those skills that our kids need to be a part of and know how to engage in the different settings. So I think I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. We believe that, and I think it's just returning us back to that intentionality with our campuses about when can we schedule that in between all the testing, which we know exists, and really finding a way. And I would say even that holistic approach of the whole grade level, because what does that look like when we all have to travel, we all have that experience, and how do we debrief that? And maybe we do that with some instructional technology that we're able to, in real time, communicate what we saw or something that we reflected on that means something to us. And then we're able to push that out to families so you as a parent can get some immediate feedback on what that experience was for your child and have that conversation when they get home. So I definitely agree that this is something we can refine and continue to expand.
Well, and you touched on what the complaint I hear the most about. They don't do field trips because they're always doing the testing. They're always taking the test. They're always preparing for the test. Like it's always the test, the test, the test. That's always the big complaint when people do make comments about there not being field trips, because I have heard that too. And it has been from older student parents. So, and I mean, I get it. And to your point, yes, private schools and homeschools have the ability to do that more than we do. And you just have to decide. I mean, sometimes you have to decide, you know, what you can do for your family, what you can't do for your family. I mean, that's why we have the choices we have. But I think that, and I think we also as a board don't always know exactly what your campuses are providing and supporting the students. So I don't want you guys to think we're making a blanket statement like y'all never do anything, because that's not what we're saying. And I'm glad we're having this discussion. I think that it's important. But yeah, I didn't want you to think that we're sitting up here thinking you guys never do anything, because that's not.
And I appreciate Dr. Gosh's assertion about a reward trip, you know, which certainly has its connection and its experience as well. But my philosophy of those field trips is it's an educational experience. So every child needs to attend. It should not be held over a child because they've had some behavior concerns or they've had an issue. If we say this is an experience all children need to have and we believe in it, they need to have access to that trip. And I think those are some of the things that we can continue to work on and refine and get feedback from students. You know, what are you curious about? Where can we have those moments? And then how do we maximize the technology? Because there's some wonderful virtual tours as well. So we don't have to always be out and about.
And I'm sad that our Seguin Outdoor Learning Center is no longer available to us as an option, because the kids at the secondary level, talk about team building. They loved opportunities like that, to canoe together, fish together, do all those outdoor arching activities. I'd love to look into more of those opportunities for our secondary students. It's an excellent thing for us to be moving towards. We already have some ideas and some things in place. I'd like to see those come to action soon. So thank you. That was a good job.
Thank you. I have so many more, but I just go with one. Just do one more, for the sake of time.
We're here for you, sir.
So, this one, I believe there are two parents here that didn't know the process of signing up to speak, or they would have. And I don't know if it's I don't know if this falls in the operations part, or the athletics part, but there's some concerns out there, and I think it more falls under the operations, so I'm gonna kinda go from that angle. 193 work orders. Do we know if there's been a work order put in to fix the baseball field and its sprinklers, and to fix the mound again, and to fix the things that a top 10 team in the state shouldn't have to be dealing with, which is like holes in the ground, I believe, with water puddles constantly because of the pipes are leaking constantly. A mound that's falling apart again after being fixed. And like I said, they were gonna talk, but I don't think they, because I've been approached, and so I told them what you said, show up. Anyway, so do we have a plan? I mean, has there been a work order put in? Do we have a plan to address it? It's been ongoing for a long time. The grass is dead. It's a desert out there. So what's the plan?
So as far as work orders, just emails have been going through from the coaches to ourselves. The issue with the fields is there are some cracks in the pipes, and to get those repaired, we have the pricing for them. It's gonna dig up the softball field and may make it.
Yeah, cause there's a leak on the softball field too.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So can we water it? Yes, they have to hand water it, or they put on the timer, which they have to do manually. So that's the issue that's going on with the plumbing, or as far as the irrigation, I'm sorry. And that's why it is in the condition that it's in, is because we want to make sure that our softball field is at least playable and not just dig everything up. As far as the mound, I know that we've had them come out last month, make some repairs, held them to it to the scope of work that they did back in December. We can call them back out if we need to. I get all the information from coaches and whatever they tell me, and that's how we move forward with it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I would definitely recommend meeting with these parents. They have some concerns, parents. I would recommend meeting with Robbie.
I would actually recommend that if parents have concerns, that they speak with the coach.
Okay.
And the coach can communicate with us. We cannot address something we don't know.
Okay.
So what I was made aware of is that the company that was hired to come out had not fulfilled what we contracted them to do. And so we contacted them again and said, we're gonna hold you to your contract. What was requested was some clay bricking to stabilize the mound differently. That was not part of their contract or the scope of work that was requested originally. So if that is what is desired, all we need is the coach to tell us that, and we can go and contract that. Obviously, we have to, get out there and have the time to do that correctly. When we talk about the piping, it's important, and Robbie has communicated with coaches that they are very careful in how they maintain their fields, because when you run over the sprinkler heads, you bust the pipes. And it's an unfortunate incident that happened, and we've been working with them, and unfortunately because of that damage, it would mean shutting down one of the fields entirely, as he said, to get it fixed. So in the meantime, we are 100% committed to what needs to happen to maintain the fields and get it where it needs to be. As you know, moving forward, our goal is to have completely turfed fields so that we can avoid this in the future. But obviously the maintenance of those fields for the junior high is going to stay a priority, and training folks on how to maintain those fields and not create further damage. And then also having good communication with us from the get-go while we have summertime is really important for us to, as I like to say, unknown needs cannot be met. And I appreciate that as a parent, you're watching and you're saying, gosh, why is this the way it is? It needs to get fixed. And that is the chain, is talk to the coach needs to talk with Robbie and Coach Hill, and then I meet with Robbie every Monday, if not every day, but we absolutely have an every Monday, and I meet with Coach Hill every other Monday with anything that needs assistance from a financial standpoint to get it taken care of. So we want to make sure our kids have what they need.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I'm just, like I said, I'm voicing concerns, and I did exactly what you asked me to do.
I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
I apologize to those folks who don't know. For anyone who is listening, if you need to make a public comment when you come to our board meetings, and we'll make sure that that's on our website so that we can make sure no one is not in the know. But when you come in and you get an agenda, there is a card for you to fill out so that we know that you're ready to present to the board, and we're able in public comment to have that ready to go. Because I don't want anyone to feel like they wasted their time at all. That is certainly not our intent.
So I just want to say one thing, and I appreciate what you said. I understand that you can't fix what you don't know.
Right.
However, I'm going to just put it out there. I am no baseball expert by any means,
right?
Or anything else. But if you walk out there and look at that field, I'll be honest, as a board member, I'm embarrassed by the fact that there is no grass and that it looks in the condition that it is. Whether that falls on the coach, the athletic director, on you, on Robbie, I don't know who it falls on, but, and the softball field kind of looks the same, and I'm not a softball expert either. I never played either sport, don't know a whole lot about it, can't even tell you all the rules. But I can tell you based on what the fields look like, it bothers me that we that we're just saying, oh yeah, but we'll deal with that later. And I don't need to be too critical in that. And I understand, but at the same time, how it looks and how it looks to the community, it doesn't look right. If the football field was burned up, which it's not, it's turf.
Sure.
But if the football field had no grass on it, people would be complaining about it. And you know, that's kind of, if you go out to the baseball field, that's what it looks like right now. And I know we've had lots of wind and it's been dry and this and that, but it's a problem. It's not going to be solved at this table. But it should be okay to bring it up here as well.
Absolutely, and I take full responsibility. Certainly, we are going to have to figure out what we'll need to do. I think our issue has been, how do we exclude the girls and tell them they cannot have a season to fix the other field? And that's been the hard decision with that. When we know that we can still water, we can still take care of what we need to take care of. Certainly, you know, I will meet with Robbie after tonight to see what we need to do as far as getting somebody out, if we need to plant more grass. I'm happy to look at that as a solution. But as we've met and as we've discussed, we cannot exclude the softball team from having a place to play. And so that's been the big challenge. Certainly, we want everybody to have what they need, and we want to make sure that our facility is maintained and is something we're proud of. I know I've mentioned it before. There is nothing that upsets me more than feeling like our kids should feel embarrassed, and I don't want that for our children. I want them to have what they need. I want the playing field to be safe, and I want it to be an appropriate space. So we will absolutely go back to the drawing board and see what we need to do to make sure that both fields are playable and that both teams are able to have the best season they can.
And maybe it's as simple as just sharing what the plan is for that. Because I don't think people, like, if you say you can water it, I don't think people are doing it, and so it's just maybe sharing what you are doing to try to take care of it could probably go a long way.
I'm a rubber meets the road kind of guy. What's the rules on like if you want to complain, maybe you have time to go hand water. Can you volunteer to go hand water? Is there a rule against parents going out there and doing the hand watering themselves if they want something better? You know, I don't know.
So the other thing is, you got to hand turn the water valve on to get the timer to go.
Okay.
So the coaches can do that themselves. As far as when we say hand water, they've got to turn it on and then shut it off at the end of everything.
Okay.
I also want to add, we've added some winter rye last month for some of those dry patches. We do whatever the coaches advise us to do.
Sure.
We try to help in conjunction with having our landscapers come out. But as far as the watering schedules and all that, we rely on our coaches to let us know what can we do to help them.
Okay.
So they
I'm
have
hearing you.
they had the opportunities and the
Sure.
capabilities to turn on that water themselves.
But well, I guess what I'm going to is if they turn on, can dads go out there and water for an hour at a time? And what are the rules on that?
What will happen is your softball field will start flooding if they leave it on.
Okay.
So there's got to be some coordination on who's turning it on and when
That
they're
one
going to turn
right
it
behind
on.
second base on the
Yes, sir.
softball field? Yeah.
And so that's the issue. We've got multiple cracks on our softball field that's hindering the whole system.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's
That's
not
gonna
really an
have to
option.
be talked through because we have a
Yeah.
security gate lock issue on that too.
That's true, yeah.
There's layers of it.
Yeah.
And I got the pricing months ago to get this fixed, and it's a simple fix if you can, but they've got to dig up a lot of the softball field, which, again, we want to make sure that our softball players are able to play on.
Yeah, I just was asking if there's a simple volunteer solution that can start, you know.
Right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Are you sure? Because the floor is yours.
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, before we go into the superintendent's report, correct me if I'm wrong, our calendar of events is on our website, right?
That is correct.
Is our enrollment on our website?
You don't see specifically this particular information, the updated information.
Okay, so this is the reason I'm asking, and I'm bringing this to you guys. I feel like some of this stuff we don't have to go over every single month, and especially if it's accessible to us on the website. I feel like, I hate using the word waste of time because that sounds horrible, but if we have access to it somewhere else, I don't necessarily know that, I feel like we could spend our time discussing other things that are more important that we don't have access to. Does that make sense? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, I want to make a comment though, just on that. I agree with that wholly. If we can read it and it's available, I think that that's great. Going back to the reports, I'm not going to make a comment about any one of the reports, but what I would say is it's along similar lines. There's a lot of information in there that's really in the weeds, and what it does is it creates, I know for me, a lot of additional questions instead of like actual data points and things that the board, and I look at it as a lot of work on a whole lot of people in the district to put all that information in there, and a lot of it really doesn't necessarily pertain to us per se, you know, where some of it could if it was phrased differently or maybe gave actual data points of where we're going. And so, you know, at the same time, I don't want to spin the wheels, but a lot of the information that, you know, we see there, and maybe that's for the public, I think we see in a lot of other places about, you know, what programs we're doing and, you know, curriculum and this and that, where maybe the academic services report gave us better data on the benchmarks our kids are doing versus the fact that we're just having hit. Just things like that, instead of just spinning our wheels on that.
So we're gonna talk a little bit about that enclosed under our board duties?
You know, just kind of that, but it's along these same lines. The replication pieces, I would appreciate not seeing that as much, because I think it does make it kind of long and redundant.
I think some of that, could be used for historical purposes, just because I know when Mrs. Epley has asked, like, why did you guys do this? Like, some of us have had to go back and pull our files from meetings from, you know, 3 people ago to figure out what happened, and then it's something that was just like, oh, well, because they wanted to, and there was no, like, general reason. So, like, I like having the historical context. I don't necessarily know that we need all of the weeds, because I feel like it's easy for us to get into that and get below what our purview is when we get all of that information. So to that point, definitely. And then we'll talk more about that when we get into our school board duties, when we get into closed session, because that's actually on there, like you read my mind. But yeah, back to, if there's anything else on here, especially under the superintendent's report, do you guys have an issue if we're like not going over the calendar of events at the board meetings because we have access to it on the website?
I think if there's a pertinent, something she wants us to know specifically, then that's different. We don't need the
agree with that.
What about enrollment? Because I asked Mrs. Epley about this, and she said that she had asked about it when she got here, and she was just told it because that's what they've always done. So if we don't have a historical reason for the presentation of these things, like I feel like we could discuss more important things.
I like the enrollment report, but I can read the enrollment.
Correct.
Sure, I don't need you to read
I
the
like the
enrollment report
report,
to me.
I don't need it, I don't need it,
You know, some of the financial reports, it would be nice to get some of the high points on some of those. I mean, yes, we can read them, but, you know I mentioned to Ms. Epley, and when I did ask some questions before the meeting, you know, I had a question about one of the items on there, and there was a reference to something that had been included in the financial reports, and it wouldn't have been something I would have picked out necessarily. And so maybe getting some of those high points, because that is something that we're responsible for. I'd rather, if there's something important to go over, it be something along
Like
those
get
lines
pointed
versus,
out?
yeah, versus
Okay.
not to go over every single one, but versus the calendar events or enrollment, when I can read that and that's,
Yeah.
you know, a little bit better understood. Yeah, I don't need the check.
So do we have, are we okay if we don't do a presentation on the calendar of events and enrollments like tonight, or going forward, we can kind of just take care of that on our own?
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
Sounds good. We need a motion on that in action, or is that okay if we just make that decision?
She essentially like, please, thank you.
Okay, so with that being said, we are gonna go into the superintendent's report because she does need to give us an update on the collaborative vision quarterly report. 8B1, please.
There we go. All right, good evening, board members. I do want to highlight that we are in our third quarter of the collaborative visioning. For those of you in the audience, you can scan a QR code. This is a digital product. We do give you a hard copy, you're special, and get a hard copy, and that's just for ease of moving through and taking any notes that you might want to. To respect our time, I am not going to walk you through every step of this. You know now how we establish this. So just wanted to tell you that that enrollment report will always be in our quarterly report as a quarterly enrollment snapshot. I think, you know, certainly the intent of that, as was communicated to me when I first came here, was really to help our community be aware of our growth. I hope by this point everyone is aware and is seeing that growth. But yes, we are continuing to grow, and we are continuing to stick with our quarterly demographic reports that are helping us to understand that our master plan to continue to grow the district is still something that is very needed as we continue to see our grade levels expand. So in our opening section, we've added a piece for finance. That is not one of your core priorities. However, we know that finance is really an underpinning of everything we do. We talk about finance at every single board meeting, even if we're not specifically covering a financial update, because all decisions, whether it's the instructional technology we talked about today, it's some of the programmatic stuff we discussed today, all takes an investment of taxpayer funds. And so we know that that is a constant in our work. So we've highlighted here the compensation task force we talked about earlier, as well as some of the things that you've done as a board in establishing the legislative priorities. I know I have inundated you as we are in what I affectionately call the Wild West time period with legislation, where it's everybody throwing everything to see what sticks, whether it is us writing testimony or actually going up to testify for some of these things, where it's really affecting how our students are going to learn, how discipline is changing, what some of the rules may be for teachers, some of the legal ramifications for the superintendent, the principals, teachers. Some of the decisions being made have actual financial impact on people. You know, I was sharing with the principals that there's actually a proposal that if you leave up an election sign at your campus longer than a 24-hour period of the election, you could face a $2,000 fine and, you know, up to, 6 months in jail. So there's all kinds of things being thrown out there that we want to be aware of and really advocate for what we know is best for our community. And I appreciate you guys staying on top of that with me and making that trip out to the Capitol, where we got to see that happening firsthand and really speak with the legislators. Certainly we talked about governance camp and some of those celebrations that we have. Going into our academic success. Yep.
You missed a page.
I did, sir. It's a little awkward for me,
I think our president should bring it up.
So.
Do you want me to bring it up?
Sure.
So in our quarterly, actually, Chelsea, do you want to take the microphone and address that? Yes, she's a much better orator than I am, so
You're welcome.
let's
Thank
let her
you,
do
sir.
that.
I'm not good at tooting my own horn.
Thank you, Joel.
So I think it was in January, Mrs. Epley was notified that she has been bestowed by her alma mater, Sam Houston State University, the Distinguished Educator of the Year Award. And this is awarded to certain people who have graduated from the College of Education. And it represents her impact on the community, as well as our schools, obviously, and just the amazing work and the initiatives that she has been able to bring here. And we are very proud of her, and it is definitely evident in this community of the amazing things that she has done. And she gets to be honored on Saturday in Huntsville, and it's a black tie affair banquet, and representatives from Sam Houston State came here in February to do a video, and they showcase some of our programs here and all of the great things that are happening in our schools. And everything that she gave credit to earning this, she put right back on the amazing work of our teachers, our leadership here, and our students. And I think that just goes to show what an exceptional leader that she is here. So, and I'm very honored to work with her, and I'm very excited that she is receiving this because she is very deserving of it. And we're very happy for you.
I just want to say thank you because all of you have supported that success, and I thank everyone for that. And Ms. Artine is going to join me on Saturday in Huntsville, so she'll be there, and I appreciate that, and I hate that I'm missing the athletic, fundraising night, and so is my husband because he likes to bid a lot. But yes, we'll be in Huntsville, so thank you for that. Academic services is our next section, as well as the priorities related to academics. You can see some of that progress that I think you guys were talking about, where we actually can see the data on those academic goals that the board has set. And so, yes, the more, and I've certainly encouraged, whether it be the Friday memo or the reports, our campuses to be giving more of that data. You know, what happened with that benchmark test? What are we doing because of the results of that benchmark test? How are we celebrating what worked? What are we doing as far as interventions if we weren't seeing the progress? So you'll see that here, as well as some of our committees. And we have developed, I think, very quickly ways for us to see our stakeholders engaged in this community. And so I would highly encourage that anyone who is at home thinking, I have things I need to say, I have things I want to be engaged with, that we have a variety of ways for you to do that in the district. And so please contact us. We're happy to connect you with one of our committees. We talked a little bit about instructional coaching, which I know Ms. Sartain had the opportunity to visit a PLC and see instructional coaching in action, as well as what's going on recently with our gifted and talented, and our counseling program. We are evolving that counseling program, again, shoring up some of our gaps in our PGPs and the planning for students, and seeing how we can continue to develop that connection of support for our students, beyond just creating your schedule. What is your future, and how can we support you with any mental health needs or stresses that are causing you to feel distracted in your learning. Special education, we are excited that we've created some partnerships for our special education families to get more information about services in the community, as well as how we are learning to better facilitate ARDS and have those connections with our families and make sure we are providing the best services possible. Obviously, we've spoken a lot this quarter about ESL and how we are developing those services for a growing population and how we anticipate meeting those needs with that growing population. Also, obviously everyone's met Ms. Gossett, our brand new CTE director, and we talked a little bit and kind of wrapped up that academic progress goal related to that college career and military readiness. And so you can see some of those very specific steps that we are taking, specifically those job embedded days, where they're able to go and shadow a job and making those connections with the Economic Development Corporation of Seguin to make sure our students have those opportunities. Again, that experience really does shape, like, oh, I didn't realize this is what this is, or, oh, I thought it was this, that's not really what I wanted to do. But that's so important for students before they commit to a particular field, or really to get those connections so that they're ready to go. Not only do you have your industry-based cert, but you have a connection. You can make a phone call and see about getting a job right away. We of course know that our FFA students, as Joel pointed out, incredibly articulate. I always say, I wish I had been in FFA. They dress the best. They're able to present their work in such an articulate manner. And certainly we've been impressed as they've gone into show season and seen our students be incredibly successful, and so we've documented that here as well. We've also talked about our new courses and advanced academic opportunities that we are planning for next year, as well as how we are engaging with colleges and the ACT process to make sure our students are prepared. We also talked a little bit about TSI. This has been something that I feel like we were not communicating well. When a parent contacts me the day their kid takes TSI and says, hey, my kid said they didn't do well on this test, what is this thing again? I know we have not done what we need to do to make sure not only that students feel prepared and understand what TSI is, but also that we're able to have parents be aware of this as a benchmark and something that your student needs to be able to master in order to be prepared for college. We also covered, of course, our initiatives of the Ready, Engaged, Prepared, and so that's listed there for you. We are expanding our readiness resources for our parents. Not only do we have checklists, so as your child is headed into a particular grade level, you are able to look at these kind of benchmarks and say, is my child ready? If your child is not, now we have given you links and opportunities to supported tools at home that you can then engage your child with. So again, we want to create that partnership. That's a big part of what we say is our mission, is creating those partnerships, not only with business leaders and industry and colleges and military, so that our children are prepared and have options, but the partnership with our children's first teachers, their parents. Am I fully aware of what this process is? Do I know how to assist my child? And that access is not a barrier, whether that's a language issue, whether that's a finance issue. We know we have students whose parents have no problem paying for extra tutoring, paying for a program, but we also have students that do not have that ability. And so do they know of what are those options at school and at home that they can access that additional help? Of course, our Engaged initiative, we talked about this at length today, whether it is a field experience, whether it is the connections that we know students benefit from by being involved with the activities that several of those activities recognize today. We've highlighted some of those achievements our students have had, whether it's academic UIL. I know Sophia Castillo and Daniel Glenn went and represented our district at the state debate championship over the spring break. Talked with Sophia today, who by the way is continuing to rack up success. I know many of you saw our report that she received a rather large check from UT. Over the break, she was contacted by Notre Dame with an $88,000 a year scholarship, as well as Johns Hopkins with a $92,000 a year offer. I told her it's just the beginning. She's amazing, and she shared that both her and Daniel really felt like the experience was great over at the state meet, that they got to speak with like-minded peers, and again, the trophy is wonderful, and we want our children to be able to be successful, but knowing that even without an ultimate trophy, our kids are walking away saying, that was a meaningful experience to me, I gained knowledge, is really what we're going for. So, of course, highlighting the Panther Shake and how we engaged folks with our vase competition, our band competition, the investment that you approved with our new uniforms going into the new campus, our junior high band, as well as our dance program and developing that out and growing that program, our winter guard, and our fine arts music at the lower levels. We've talked about expanding that program, and so talking through what that looks like. Our theater program, specifically, if you did not get a chance to see Seussical, you missed out. I came back to watch one of the class productions. They did 3 class shows in one day, and just phenomenal to have 50 kids engaged, 25 additional kids doing the technical theater elements. Just outstanding opportunity for kids, and we're seeing that bleed over into the junior high, where we have a full request for a full day, full teaching assignment at the junior high for next year in theater. Of course, expanding our athletics. We did, of course, add a new athletic director, and Coach Hill has already implemented some of the things we were looking to see change, whether that was some customizable warm-ups and workouts, not just a one-size-fits-all for both boys and girls and all athletes, that we integrated with our new program rack coach, as well as watching them do the perfect day, which was a wonderful win for me to see kids get excited about setting a goal and actually achieving it. Our cheer going to the state competition as our first year foray into that. And of course, what we celebrated tonight, our basketball teams and their success, as well as Coach Tyler being named Coach of the Year. And it is about us finding those wonderful additions to our staff and really opening up opportunities, because we are refining our human resource practices. We are looking for that look-alike model when we do a stay interview and we see, hey, this is the kind of person we hope to be able to replicate. How are we developing questions? How are we recruiting to get that type of person? So we're continuing to strengthen those people who are leading our students and developing our programs. Again, the addition of soccer and seeing that develop out, as well as the success we've seen with powerlifting. Tennis is continuing to be outstanding. And then all of the track and field events starting up. Of course, we've had baseball and softball starting up, and despite obviously some issues that we are dealing with the facility, we have seen kids thriving and making excellent strides as we go into district play. Our tennis teams have been excellent as well, and you can see the reports of that. And then as we go into prepared, talking a little bit more about how do we make sure our students know what is needed to be prepared as they leave us? How are we systematically creating opportunities for students to not leave us thinking, hey, I missed an opportunity, no one told me that. Those are no-nos for us, and we want to make sure that we are able to make sure that whether it's tours, whether it's question and answer sessions, whether it's opportunities with their counselors, they are prepared. And we've obviously shared with you our new tool of Career Craft to assist parents and students with that process. Of course, our priority is human resources. I talked a little bit about some of those changes in our way of being able to bring strong individuals on board to support our initiatives, our programs, and strength within the classroom experience. And you can see there some of the staffing grant opportunities as well as survey that we've looked at, our progress on the teacher incentive allotment, as well as creating opportunities through a leadership cohort with Texas State. We have an amazing group of student teachers this year, and developing that out so that we are a desirable place for the universities to send student teachers is something that we are continuing to work on. And then developing our substitutes so that when we have somebody out for a family issue, an illness, certainly in the spring there are lots of activities, whether it's a field trip, whether it's competition, where students are left without their main teacher. And how do we make sure that we have a caring individual that's going to be able to keep the instruction going while their main teacher is out? Of course, communications, bringing Chelsea on board, we've continued to expand the communication of what's happening in the district, whether that's the changing of our website, our flyer distribution policy. Of course, we're looking forward to our second Pantherpalooza, where we continue to talk about how do we create environments where we stay the small school district that we admire and we know makes us special as we continue to grow. And then, of course, our celebration of our Heart of Gold. This is, again, making sure we're recognizing folks for going above and beyond, and that it's not this intangible, maybe someday I get Teacher of the Year, maybe someday I'm recognized as a top paraprofessional. It's that each quarter we're able to recognize folks, and anyone can make those nominations, so that's there as well. Our community engagement, which is a key piece of what we feel like is our strength. Our people is the strength of this district. Our community, our families, our students, our staff, certainly all the leaders that contribute, and our ability to come forward and collaborate is a big part of what makes us successful and address the needs that emerge. We, of course, have been engaged with food distribution. Our communities and schools is working out very nicely at the junior high level. And so as we talk through that, we also are hitting our final two elements, which are the growth of our facilities. I know some of you who went the back way have seen that our portables are in here at the intermediate. Those will be getting electricity and plumbing put in so that they're ready to go for next year. We're very pleased with how those situated on the site, and I know that the principal got to tour it and was pleasantly surprised from what I hear about the size of them and what they'll be able to do for us. But we also highlight the great work happening with our child nutrition department to make sure that we are using quality food, Texas local products, that we are making sure that students are fed and are prepared for the school day. We celebrated Love the Bus Month and certainly honor our transportation individuals, showing how we are paying attention to the need to continue to develop our fleet. We're asking tonight to remove some of that fleet that is obsolete, and how we develop that maintenance fleet, how we develop our white fleet as we grow and as we expand our campuses off of this one site. You can also see that we are offering paid CDL training. We've made a huge push with our teachers to say, hey, you want to feel great about going to your field trip? You want to feel great about going to your contest and not worrying about, am I going to have transportation? There's a real easy way to do that. You become the person who transports. And so having that opportunity and being able to be paid if you're off contract during that time to get that training, we feel is a great incentive. And we are certainly pushing that so that we can have some more drivers at hand for some of our midday trips. You can also see the progress that's been made. I know we get our reports every month about bond, but truly having our community know that you are overseeing these projects, that their tax dollars are going to what they asked for, and that we are being very mindful of how this money is utilized to support our students and support the growth of the district. So we not only have given a 21 update, but also a 2024 update. All of the things we discussed tonight about the 24 projects with some visuals so that people can see the various projects and the state that they're in at this particular time is there, as well as obviously our enrollment. So you can see here that up to this point, quarterly, we are looking at that growth at all of our campuses except high school. We've discussed this before with high school. As students are able to exit the high school system, or if they're going into a truancy court situation, we have a judge who is recommending a separate program for them to go into, and that is seeing that number drop, where the other campuses are clearly growing to meet that peak that was predicted and beyond. So obviously, we have a group of fantastic folks working behind the scenes in maintenance and operations, and we've shared that in this report, as well as the safety security pieces that we are consistently doing, and then our technology. So we've recapped some of that technology integration for teaching that you saw tonight from Ms. Gissendanner, as well as some of the technology changes. We know that we have experienced some connection issues, and part of what we are starting is an outside review. I know Jason and his team are working extremely hard, but when we talk about retention, when we talk about that need to not have his team leave because every day is a hard thing that we have to tackle, Jason and I have spoken about an outside review. Again, we had an outside review of the fiber, and that's where we found that we had some breaks. So having an outside review to either confirm that yes, we're doing everything we can, but this is what we see as an issue, or no, there's a major issue you aren't even aware of. And so we are hoping to bring a report to the board in April about that. As we know, not having that consistent access to the internet is crippling to operations, frankly, not just the teachers, but also running payroll, writing an email. It's important that we have that tool, and as we grow, we know and feel confident that that service is going to be available to all of our campuses. So this is our quarterly report, and just wanted to make sure that you had access to it. We will release it to the public. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just wanted to make a comment and thank Ms. Schwarzlose for letting me attend that PLC, and to Mrs. Coppage for taking the time to break all of that down and help me understand that. I'm not an education person, I'm a legal person. We don't deal with data like that, so I got to learn, how all of that is broke down, put back together, how it's utilized by your teachers, and how it's bringing the kids where they need to be as far as academics, testing, scoring, and things like that. I will understand much more about what you guys are talking about when you're giving us presentations now, so I appreciate you letting me attend that.
And I would say, I know we have a working board. Everybody on this board works extremely hard. But if you ever want to witness a process, please let us know. We will work to set that up for you and make sure that you get in and get out and see what you need to see, and still be able to do your job, because I know the service you give us is tremendous, knowing you all are committed to your jobs.
I just want to add, the document is amazing, and I'm sure that Chelsea had a huge hand in helping you, Ms. Epley, put it
Yes.
together. The information is great, and the work that you're doing is good. I know that, you know, sometimes it feels like the walls are coming down, but they're not. And the things that are here, there's a lot of positives, and you pointed out in certain areas where we know we can make improvements on what we're going to be doing with that. So I just want to say thank you for creating something that is a showcase for the district, and the numerous hours it takes to put this together, because I've put some things together like this before, and it is huge. So good job.
Yes, and I want to thank everyone. Chelsea does an amazing job and keeps everyone on track, but it is a collaborative effort. All of our departments submit, they have access to the Canva, and so we submit and we talk about, and we've worked to really create this as a usable piece, not only for HR to take as we recruit people and to be able to say, this is the organization you're joining, but also to be mindful that this is not a job justification. This is truly, where are we in reaching our goals? And we know that we have work to do. There are some areas we're extremely proud of, and we're going to continue to push and elevate. There are things that we know we have some deep work to do. And that collaboration and that time of meeting as a team and continuing to prioritize those items that the board has told us are what we need to work on is paramount to us. So we hope that with each Panther progress, you're seeing that. If there's something you're not seeing that you would like reported on, please don't hesitate to let me know. And then we will ultimately give you the annual report, which will be a conglomeration of the different quarters. But the main meat of it will be a section of state of the district for the year with kind of a district by the numbers, so that you'll see where we are in enrollment, you'll see where we are in what we've invested in financially, you'll see what our scores are looking like, and really kind of summarize everything down in that annual report.
Anybody have any questions or comments on the quarterly report? Thank you, Mrs. Epley.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to move down to 8C, the district financial reports. Do we have any questions on the district financial reports? Joel?
No, I do, but it's on me. I just need to sit down with you, because I think my questions are better served asking these in person, probably.
Is it something that we would all benefit from though?
Well, I mean, it probably also addresses the amount of data to kind of why we're getting certain things. I don't understand why. So maybe we talk about that when we talk about that inflows like you're talking about.
Okay.
Once you brought that up, that kind of answered half my brain thinking.
Okay.
So then I can go back and ask my follow-up if I need to.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments on financials? Okay, so we will go ahead and go into consent. Everyone can read what's on there, 9A through F. Does anybody have any questions on any of the things in consent? Anybody have anything they need to discuss on the things in consent? Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as posted.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion was made by Clint and seconded by Dan. Any further discussion? I totally just blanked. All those in favor? Thank you. Like it was gone. Sorry, guys.
More water, more water.
More water. Okay. I'm so sorry, you guys. The motion passes 7-0. And with that, we'll move into action.
10A, a change order from Bartlett Cog, and who is gonna present the information on that?
Paul.
Good evening, and this change order for 4.5 million is construction was ongoing, it was determined that there was going to be additional drainage and parking that was going to be necessary to allow for expansion of the high school that is planned in the future, and that's going to take that work that was necessary in that area is in an area where it's more cost effective to shift that work to the design build contract, because that is where that work is going to have to occur. And rather than trying to have two architects try to work together to determine what needs to be done and how it's going to coordinate with that other construction, it was deemed after discussions that it would be better to work with, add it to the design build, so that it would be as seamless as that work went forward. And it is being funded by a $4.5 million return on the other contract that is coming to us from the other contract.
Yeah,
Any
it might
questions?
take a minute, but yeah, it's, our stuff is taking a second to load up
I got you.
the artifacts, sorry. Yeah, did yours come up, cause mine took a minute too.
It finally came up.
Mine came up slowly too. I kept having to make sure it would keep coming back.
The part of the process of the building that this is funding is what's gonna start initially, correct? The dirt work and the drainage needs to start now because it takes so long.
Yes, that is part of the process.
I remember Bartlett Cock with GMP,
Yes.
GMP 2 talking about what needed to start
Yes.
initially.
Yes.
So if this is part of the original work done, and we're doing the change order because we're simply asking for a different architect to design this, if the funds were there, why was this not part of the original scope? If the drainage was gonna be needed to prevent the flooding of the high school, why was it not part of the original scope originally and designed at the beginning versus we're having to do it after the fact? Because
So
if it's needed, it was needed.
Yes, if you remember, in 21, there was a bond ask for not only a high school on that site, but also an athletic complex on that site. The athletic complex did not pass. And so, in coming up with your GMP, you had an architect and a contractor creating a contract just to build the high school. And so, what was developed was not to develop the remainder of the property. So as we look at the usability and development of the rest of the property, you do need to address the drainage. And as you develop the rest of the property, whether it's the additional classrooms that we will be asking for in a future bond, or the remaining use of the property for the other facilities, there's the opportunity to have additional parking. So that would be my understanding of why you didn't specifically build in this level of drainage into the project when it was originally just going to be what was built on the property as the existing high school.
But the original project included funds for something like this, had both
Not to the extent that it's occurring because of where everything is located and how the drainage needs to work. It's going to take a lot of additional work and going underground at this point to make everything work and make it all connect and make the high school work with the parking and everything else. So the original, I think, the original design was there was not going to be like giant culverts going down, and now they feel like that is the best use of and the best method to drain off these fields in order to make maximum use of the property, especially as we want to do expansions in the future.
Okay, so I'm a little confused because I thought I had asked all my questions prior to. But Clint's question confused, the response to Clint's question confused me because I specifically asked if this is what GMP this was going to, and it was gonna go to GMP 3, but he just asked if it goes to the GMP 2 that we are.
No, they mentioned during GMP 2 the
Correct.
need to address drainage, but this will be a line item in GMP 3
Okay,
that
all
will
right.
specifically say this is coming from bond 2021 funds, as it is a reimbursement from the high school project to be applied to drainage
Sure.
affecting the high school and additional high school parking. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Right, I don't think the GMPs matter as far as what happens first. They just need to order the product, why we did 1 and 2, so they could get the product for them.
Well, I don't think, yeah, this doesn't have to do with ordering the product, I don't think, not for GMP 2 or 3. But, so are we approving a deductive change order on the GMP for the actual high school, and then approving a change order,
Well,
add change order?
Technically, I don't think you have to approve a decreased change order
Okay.
from the money funds being returned.
Okay.
I think we talked to the lawyers about that, and that
Yes,
was
sir,
not,
we did.
that's not, it's only for an increase in
Okay.
that. So that money, they've said is going to be returned to us, and we're asking you for a change order to add this to the design bid.
So the 4.5 million is just what's being returned, not necessarily what the cost of the project will be?
The 4.5 million is, I'd have to look at all of the total, but it should cover the cost of the parking and the work on the drainage.
So what we've been told is that this is what their estimate is at this point. Again, as Ryan shared with you, they were going out for bids, and that's what they'll bring to you in the GMP. But in preliminary estimates, they saw that as a $4.5 million expense, and Bartlett-Cock felt that they had a confident place with the 66% that we're at with the high school, that they could return 4.5 million now. They estimate we will see additional savings coming back to the district, but for now, that was to cover their estimate on the cost of this work. Yes, ma'am?
So the moral of the story is, when there's multiple propositions that relate to each other,
They need
the
to be
reduction of
strongly
one,
considered.
it isn't an either or.
Right.
You know, it's which, if you're used to school bonds, we know that it's a education thing on the community, you know, for that, because that is an issue.
I think it's a great point. Things will never be cheaper than they are at the original proposed bond time. When you kick the can, you raise the price. And it's important to note that when you bring on a team, you're bringing on a contractor and a designer, and as that project evolves and you then have a new bond come on top, if you didn't pick that same team, it does complicate the situation. And so yes, ideally, when a bond is proposed, having it all pass at once helps to streamline the project, prepare the whole site for what is needed on that site, and keeps the cost at what you originally estimated.
So we're approving the acceptance of the savings because we're transferring bond money, is that correct? Is that why that moved, is that why we have to?
We're not transferring bond money.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand why we're approving the acceptance. If we're not approving the deductive change order, why are we trying to work on the acceptance of the
Well,
savings?
I'm basically just explaining where the money's coming from
Oh,
for
okay,
the
all
4.5
right, so we're not
million.
actually approving the acceptance, okay.
Right, that was just an explanation of where
Gotcha.
where suddenly I came up with 4.5. It wasn't out of my, no, it wasn't out of my whatever.
So we're only approving the change order for the different architect, basically.
We're approving the change order for the design build contract.
And so that architect and that contractor will now do this portion of the high school
The
build.
2021 project.
Yes, it is.
Any other questions?
It's fairly
fine.
we're gonna vote on
Yes,
this,
absolutely,
so.
absolutely. It's more logistical and understanding the processes for me is where my question's at, Nate.
Anything else? All right, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve acceptance of $4.5 million in savings from the original Bartlett Cock High School construction project and accept a change order for $4.5 million in drainage and parking on the Bartlett Cock design build contract.
Second.
Okay, the motion was made by Becky and second by Dan. Any further discussion?
Motion says we're accepting.
Approve the acceptance of the
But
savings.
we're not accepting the funds. It's staying in the bond?
So,
I just want to clarify.
yes, and
The language is correct.
I
I'm sorry.
yeah, I
When she
hear.
read it, I just.
Yeah, I hear
Should
your understanding of the language.
Yeah.
You're not accepting the money, like, no, we don't want the money. You're gonna get the money no matter what. What I think the phrasing that Paul is using is you're accepting that that money coming in is now going out.
That's
So,
In the change order.
yes.
Okay.
I'm just making sure the language is right. Okay.
Okay, so the motion was made by Becky, sorry, and second by Dan. Any other questions, clarifications? Okay, all in favor? All right, motion passes 7-0. And with that, we're going to go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074, to discuss the duties of the Board of Trustees. Pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074, to discuss the duties of the superintendent. Pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074, to discuss the term contract and employment agreement recommendations for administrative personnel. Pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.074, to discuss the employment and resignations of professional personnel to include teachers and other professionals. Pursuant to Texas Government Code, section 551.072, to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, and any related action will be taken in open session. And we will close open session